Welcome to episode number 49 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am your host, Triple J. Joining me is my co-host, Dr. Games 101.
Hey guys, what's going on?
And we got a lot of news to talk about that happened over the last 2 weeks in gaming, so let's get started.
Indeed it is.
Alright. First story. Voices and items added to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl today. This came out on the 6th. About 9 months after its Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is getting a big patch today, introducing 2 much requested features that will hopefully make the Brawler feel like a more well-rounded product. The developer Ludosity has announced it's finally adding character voices and items to the game today. Paired with some substantial character balance adjustments and stage changes, Nick Brawl's fighters will now have voices, with many of the original actors for these characters reprising their roles. This includes what looks to be a big rework of Sandy, which you can see in the tweet above. Here's the complete cast list as revealed by the Nick Brawl Twitter account. Jim Cummings will be doing the voice for Shredder and Cat from Cat Dog. Tom Kenny will be doing the voice for SpongeBob and Dog from Cat Dog. Bill Fagerback will be the voice of Patrick from SpongeBob. Carolyn Lawrence will be doing the voice for Sandy from SpongeBob. Alex Cazares will be doing the voice of Oblina from Our Real Monsters. Jim Meskimen will be doing the voice of Nigel Thornberry from The Wild Thornberrys. Richard Horvitz will be doing the voice of Zim. Vivian Venser will be doing the voice of Toph. Dustin Sardella will be doing the voice of Aang. Janet Varney will be doing the voice of Korda. Fred Teskagor will be doing the voice of Reptar from Rugrats. Bentley Griffin will be doing the voice of Lincoln Loud. Jessica DeCiso will be doing the voice of Lucy Loud. Francesca Marie Smith will be doing the voice of Helga from Hey Arnold. Townsend Coleman will be doing the voice of Michelangelo from Ninja Turtles. Cam Clark will be doing the voice of Leonardo from Ninja Turtles. Abby Trott will be doing the voice of April O'Neil from Ninja Turtles. Frank Weicker will be doing the voice of Garfield. Billy West will be doing the voices of Ren and Stimpy. David Kay will be doing the voice of Powdered Toast Man. David Kaufman will be doing the voice of Danny Phantom, and Janice Correa will be doing the voice of Jenny. With the entire cast getting voice, it's safe to assume upcoming characters Hugh Neutron and Rocco will receive the same treatment. As stated before, items are also joining the game, but there's almost no detail on what those items may be or what they do in battle. We'll just have to play to find out. The new Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl patch hits PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC today with the Switch update coming later. PlayStation Plus members can claim a free copy of Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawls until the end of June as part of the PlayStation Plus monthly games offerings alongside God of War and Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker. So what do you think of these voices being added to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl?
It would be very nostalgic, too, if it's from the original cast, too, especially with the Rocco.
And I can't hear you.
Can you hear me right now? Test it, 1, 2. Hello, hello? Hello? Hello, hello, hello? Hello, hello? Test it, 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me right now? Hello?
I can hear you now. I don't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, in regards of the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl voice characters, the voices of these characters that hopefully they're from the original cast. Because that's
what it sounds like. That's a couple of these voices. I do recognize the name.
Oh yeah.
So that's what the article made it sound like. That all these people doing the voices are the ones who did them in the past.
Yes. Okay. So obviously, they're still alive to most of them, so especially with the Rocco's characters. So
Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind, I'm kind of, um, I'm kind of, I'm kind of surprised that I'm happy that they're actually, making the effort. It seems with this game, but I'm also at the same time surprised.
Is that a good thing? Well, what's so surprising about it?
I just didn't think they would go this far for it. I thought it was just going to be a fighting game with, like a nostalgia trip or for current fans of Nickelodeon. But they're actually putting much more into it than I thought they would.
What they should have done is put these voices in from the beginning,
That's
before its
true.
release. So if you really want to have that full nostalgia of us 30-year-old and over plus gamers, then you might as well put the voices in before you put it before its release. That's what I hate about games of today now, because now you can just do whatever you want to do with the game after release, rather than giving the full product with a little support here and there, with a little DLC here and there. Now it's all about live services and how much to make off of that in a short period of time.
All right. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, hey, at least they're doing it now.
Yeah,
Um. So, you know,
it sucks.
and I'm interested in what these items are going to be. Are these going to be like the items like we see in Super Smash Brothers that can turn the tide of a fight?
That would be interesting.
But then again, these items they would have to be Nickelodeon esque, and I'm not sure what items they would be. Like I don't remember Reptar having a special item that he used, or really any of these characters.
Hmm. Interesting.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next story. This one's going to be a doozy. Plumbers Don't Wear Ties Definitive Edition arrives this year. Back at E3 2021, we learned that Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, one of the strangest FMV games of the 90s, was getting remastered for modern consoles courtesy of Limited One Games. Now that we know John, Jane, and Thrasher will return later this year. The news comes by way of today's Limited One Presents showcase. What the heck is Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, you ask? The 1993 game is best described as an interactive romantic comedy firmly aimed at adults, thanks to its mild nudity and sexual innuendo. Players guide a plumber named John, who tries to win her of the heart of a beautiful woman named Jane, in an adventure laden with ridiculous hijinks. That includes dealing with an unreliable narrator and confronting a, shall we say, creepy boss. The gameplay involves making simple decisions in a choose-your-own-adventure format and watching live-action cutscenes. Live action? That's stretching it. To editorialize a bit, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties is absurd and pretty bad. However, as footage of the game found its way on YouTube over the years, probably thanks to the Angry Video Game Nerd, the game has found new life as a cult favorite. So bad it's good oddity. Not unlike Night Trap, which got a similar remaster a few years ago. Since Plumbers Don't Wear Ties had a limited release on PC and the poor-selling 3DO console, not many folks have been able to play it themselves. The definitive edition polishes up the adventure with 4K visuals and adds features such as deleted scenes, a progress chart, and new video interviews with the cast. Plumbers Don't Wear Ties Definitive Edition launches this year for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It will be available both digitally and in physical form thanks to Limited One Games. If you're into FMV games, and FMV in the loosest term possible, check out this deep dive feature about the history of the game. Okay, I know a lot about this game because of the Angry Video Game Nerd playing it. Do you know anything about this game?
Well, I seen at least one of these loosely played clips of the game back in about 10 years ago with the Angry Video Game Nerd. That last time I checked. Beforehand, I never heard of the actual title until when I got on YouTube for the first year or two of my time on YouTube. So I guess you could say that my mother did her best to censor me from a lot of sexual innuendos up until when I turned like 16, 17 years old, and that's about it. After that, I know everything now about what's going on with those games. So, well, not everything, but the start of it all,
Well, you really can't just blame your mother for this one because the 3DO was the console that cost $600, $700 back in 1993.
Yes.
When you could get a Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis and still have money left over for the same amount.
Oh, yeah.
And Sega CD. The thing is, Sega Night Trap was on Sega CD, which is why a lot of people knew about it. But FMV, they had basically most of these cutscenes, as they called them, was still pictures with voiceovers. That's what they called FMV footage. So, I just really don't see what people. I just can't imagine people are going to want this. Are you still there?
I'm here loud and clear.
Okay, your picture froze, but
yeah, we have some connection problems as always. You know how Discord is.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, they had this FMV footage was still pictures with voiceovers, and that's what they call FMV. But the thing is, Night Trap is a game I would actually give a chance and play. Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. It's just that's not something I ever want to try out.
Well, back then we were just kids, so I didn't know much about how to play that game, let alone know about the actual title of that game. I had to hear from indirectly through here and there in the crowd of gamers in my high school, not high school, in my junior high school actually. I guess you could say those type of games. If you're not part of any religious sect that's very strict on sex and drugs and stuff, if they're very strict on that with their kids, they're not going to know about it until later on. So I was one of those Johnny-come-latelys,
Well, like I said, this game was not really. It didn't have the same. It didn't have the same reach as a game like Night Trap did. But basically, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. All you do is it gives you a bunch of choices. You select one, and then you get more cutscenes, which is still pictures with voiceovers.
Right.
If you know how to work a DVD player, you know how to work this game.
Okay.
Well, I just don't understand who would want this definitive edition.
Well, for collector's sake, I'm willing to go buy it for Xbox One if it's going to be on that system. If not, the PS5 or the Xbox Series.
Well, they said it's not coming out for PS5 or Xbox Series, just PS4 and Xbox One.
That's not bad. Okay, I'm down for that.
Yeah, so if you're a big fan of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, the remastered edition's coming out soon.
Oh yeah.
Ready to move on?
Thank you, angry video game nerd. I want to say thank you to him for showing the more detailed information about that game. So.
Yeah, well, it was to show the worst game on but he believed it was the worst game on the 3DO.
Oh, okay.
That's why he showed it, but yeah, he made a pretty good case on why that would be it.
Okay.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next story. Marvel Spider-Man PlayStation sales reaches 33 million as of May. Marvel Spider-Man has recorded another sales milestone as Insomniac confirmed this week that PS5 and PS4 sales of the 2018 Spider-Man game and its spin-off, Miles Morales, have sold through more than 33 million copies globally as of May 15, 2022. The last time that Sony provided a sales update on Marvel Spider-Man was in August 2019 when it revealed that the game had sold 13.2 million units. With repeat sales of the first game, its remastered edition on PS5, and Miles Morales, these numbers have been boosted by another 20 million since then, an impressive total. With a sequel on the way, it's a safe bet that those numbers will continue to climb for the franchise when it heads to PC in August. As revealed in this week's PlayStation State of Play livestream, PC players will be able to purchase Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, which includes the base game, graphical enhancements, and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales in one huge package. Marvel Spider-Man 2, which has been described as the Empire Strikes Back of the series, is currently slated to arrive sometime in 2023 and will be a PS5 console exclusive. This time, both Peter Parker and Miles Morales are teaming up to take on Venom, who will be voiced by Candyman's Tony Todd. So, what do you think of these sales figures and Marvel Spider-Man getting a sequel?
Well, it was expected for Spider-Man to have a sequel for the PS4 game or that time back in 2020, if not 2019. So Miles Morales, I don't know why. I mean, obviously they put him in for the sake of canon with the Marvel Cinematic Universe for people to buy the game of both PS5 and PS4 systems, especially because I heard there's exclusive content to those systems of PlayStation. So. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could say it's a good milestone. You know, hopefully they'll get another 10 million over its lifetime of the same game, back in the PS4 time especially. I, for one, wanted to get a copy of my hands on the Marvel Spider-Man original for the PS4, the one that came out for the PS4 before Miles Morales came around. So.
Well, it was remastered for the PS5 because PS4 was, out. But the thing is, keep in mind, this is the same Spider-Man that Xbox did not see a future in.
That's weird.
Remember, this is the same Spider-Man game that Xbox passed on.
Wait, was it obviously the Spider-Man from 2020, 2019? That's from that's on both the PlayStation and Xbox. So I don't know.
No, Spider-Man for 2019, I think, was just PS4.
Oh wow. Okay.
Remember, Xbox had its chance first. We covered this in the podcast 2 weeks ago. Xbox had the chance first because they wanted Spider-Man to have the success of Batman's Arkham games.
Okay.
More like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. And Xbox just didn't see worth the money. Just didn't say Spider-Man was worth that money. So a PlayStation developer picked it up.
I could have sworn they were comparing PS4 graphics with the Xbox One graphics and the PC. At one point with the puddle.
Well, they even said PC's coming out late. Well, that might have been about the new game, but I'll Google it. Where's Spider-Man 2018 on Xbox One? On Xbox. No, because let's see. Because the first thing that came up is Spider-Man is finally on Xbox, but it seems super illegal.
I see. Okay, yes, they focused too much on that puddle graphics back then. And I thought they were comparing PS4 to PC as well as Xbox, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, no, the first Spider-Man came out for PS4, PS5, and PC.
Okay. All right then.
So it did not come out on Xbox.
All right, my apologies, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so again, I want to stress, this is the same game that Xbox did not see a potential in. This is the same game that Xbox said, we don't see a potential in, so we're not going to invest in this. And then Insomniac made the game exclusively for Sony, and now it's up to 33 million in sales. Million sales sold.
Mm-hmm.
33 million copies sold, so... Yeah, good for them. It's getting a sequel. It's a shame, and like I said, it's a shame Xbox fans are going to miss out. But if you got PS5 or PC, then you're going to be able to experience it. Although PC gamers will have to wait a little while.
Oh yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Next. Prince of Persia remake, somehow in even deeper shit. Delisting the game from retailers is a pretty drastic move. You might remember that classic time-shifting platformer Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time is getting a fancy remake. Announced in 2020, it was originally due out in January 2021. Then it was delayed, and delayed again. As the project moved studios, now it's been delayed once more, only this time it has been delayed straight to hell. Over the weekend, reports began surfacing that the game was being delisted from retailers, leading fans to assume that the project had been canceled. This was both true and not quite true. While the game is indeed being delisted from retailers, meaning you can no longer pre-order it, it hasn't been outright canceled. That said, and I'm not telling anyone breaking news here, it doesn't sound like the project is in great shape. Having been in development at Ubisoft's two Indian studios for years, it was only last month that it was announced the game had been pulled from those teams and was moving to the original 2003's game's developers, Ubisoft Montreal, instead. Announcing that move, they said the Montreal team will now take the time they need to regroup on the scope of the games to deliver you the best experience for this remake of an all-time classic when it's ready. Having taken a month to survey the work, things must not have been great, because Ubisoft have now told IGN over the weekend that we are no longer targeting at FY23 release anymore, 2023 fiscal year, and the game has been delisted. If players wish to cancel their pre-order, they are invited to contact their retailer. They will be updated on the project as soon as development is moving along. So, what do you think Prince of Persia Sands of Time? Are we ever going to get this game?
Well, I was planning for a week easily ago to buy the original game for the PS2, and right now it's at a good buy too. So I'm going to get my hands on that sometime next week or two, whenever I get paid. But other than that, thanks to them amping it up with the probability of coming out with this Prince of Persia remake, how well they've been doing for the last several years. Now, of course, Prince of Persia came out back in 2002, 2001, if not 2003. So,
yeah, but we're talking about the remake here.
Yeah, but why so early for a remake, though? Of course, it was 20 years ago that came out, but Ubisoft. Well, how long has Ubisoft been as a company? At least since 60s, 70s, 80s, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Because it's Ubisoft knows its way around the block, so I don't know why would they move or transfer their rights or transfer their work to an outside studio.
Ubisoft has been around since the 80s, 1986.
Okay, I was partially right about the 70s, 80s part. Okay.
Yeah, you still there?
Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Test.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I haven't turned off the camera then.
Okay.
I keep saying it's not working, so.
All right. Well, we can just. I'll just keep my camera on then. Anyway, so yeah, fiscal year 23. That could have been like even first quarter 2024 now, and now that the game's not even going to come out then. We're like in the 2 years in the future, saying, yeah, it looks like the game's not going to come out next 2 years, if ever.
They should have stuck with the Montreal, Canada, or Montreal of that particular location of the company, because
they should have stuck with their old location. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they outsourced the work to some other third-party studio, if I remember correctly. So it's they messed up on their part, and that's fine if they're gonna get the remake on time, let alone at all, because I always played the PS2 or Xbox version or the original Sands of Time game. So.
Yeah, so this is so if you were looking forward to the Prince of Persia remake, you might want to just give up on that unless news changes again, because they're saying if you want to cancel your pre-order, it's up to your retailer. But people, if you haven't pre-ordered the game yet, you can't even pre-order it now.
That sucks.
So I think this game is. I think it'll be a miracle if this game does ever come out.
And we're currently streaming right now, so people can hear you.
There's really not going to be much to look at on so.
Okay.
On OBS, I'll just keep my camera on.
Right.
When we're not. Sorry, guys. It's taken a couple minutes to figure out, because honestly, we've never used.
Facebook.
We've actually never used Facebook before.
Yep.
In this capacity.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so just
people can still hear you through the stream on my end. So you're on speaker. So
Okay. So I'm just gonna have just let me set up OBS again. So
we might have to report this matter to Discord directly via email, so we can look into the matter at hand.
okay, so my camera's not showing up in in OBS. So basically, people are just gonna see what I see on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Hold on. Why do I have two internets? Oh, okay. Alright, so ready to move on?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Let's see if I can X out. Now, what the heck? I'll just keep it open just in case. Alright, next story. Xbox GoldenEye 007 achievements are spotted. Do things the old-fashioned way. A GoldenEye 007 remaster on Xbox appears more and more likely as Microsoft now has the game achievements listed on its official website. As spotted by Video Games Chronicle, industry insider at Wario64 on Twitter shared the achievements and a link to their listing online, with the webpage still functioning as normal as of the time of writing. Both single and multiplayer objectives are listed for the beloved game, which was originally released on Nintendo 64 in 1997, with GoldenEye 007 granting players 1,000 gamer score in total, as is the norm for fully fledged games. A remaster has long been rumored and all but confirmed time and time again, most recently in January, when Xbox achievement tracking website True Achievements also listed the game. An updated version of the GoldenEye 007 was confirmed to be in development for the Xbox 360's Live Arcade at developer Rare, but was cancelled due to licensing issues, and files for the game leaked online in February of 2021. It's been a long time since we received a fully fledged Bond game, but we seem to be seeing a loosening of the famously tight restrictions on the license. Along with the seeming return of GoldenEye, Hitman developer IO Interactive is also working on Project 007, a totally original news story for the Super Spy. We think the developer is a perfect fit for the franchise. So, what do you think of this news about the GoldenEye 007 remake?
Well, I'm very surprised to do it within the last 10 years ago of the Reload version, the GoldenEye 007 Reload for the Xbox 360 and PS3. I played the demo of that game, and it was a recreation pretty much of what I played on my copy of the Nintendo 64 game. So I have to say they're taking another risk, as a good risk, because I'm willing to buy a definite, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PS5 edition, of versions of this remake. So if it's going to be geared more towards the later consoles, which is the one of the Series X and S and PS5, that would be great. I'd rather buy it on the PS5, or either buy it on the Xbox or the PS5. Hell, even on PC if possible too. That would be even better.
Yeah. So I have to say, GoldenEye 007. It's probably one of the. It's definitely the most notable Bond game that we've ever had coming out. I mean, we made it for the Nintendo Wii with Daniel Craig instead of Pierce Brosnan, but I'm not surprised that they're remaking it, because so many people bought that game.
Oh yeah.
That game seems like it was just a right time, right place, right time thing. When you think about it, because I mean, yeah, it was great. It was fun to play, but at the same time, there's nothing about it that hasn't been done in other games.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
I guess I understand where you come from.
Don't get me wrong. I love GoldenEye 007. I'm a huge fan of it. But I'm a huge fan of it. But it's you know, and I'm obviously going to check out GoldenEye 007 when it's done. But it's for some reason it's got so much more popularity than any other Bond game you could think of. Tomorrow Never Dies, Nightfire, Bloodstone. Although Bloodstone, its ending came premature.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying all those other Bond games never became as popular as GoldenEye did.
Oh yeah.
So ready to move on?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Next. WWE 2K's third DLC pack calls up the Hurricane, Stacy Keibler, and NXT stars. WWE 2K22's third DLC pack has arrived, selling up a fresh batch of wrestlers to the game's growing roster. The pack is appropriately titled Stand Back because it's headlined by the Hurricane. The Emerald Green superhero is joined by former diva Stacy Keibler, NXT's UK's A-Kid, and former NXT Tag Team Champion Wes Lee. Like past DLC wrestlers, each new face comes with My Faction Evo cards, including a Booker T and Sapphire Seth Rollins. The Stand Back pack costs $9.99 on its own as part of the Season Pass, included in the Deluxe and NWO4 Life editions. Per the game's roadmap, the next and penultimate content pack arrives on June. The reason I wanted to talk about this, I'm surprised they didn't bring this up in the article, is they did have, there was supposed to be a fifth wrestler in this pack, whose name is Nash Carter. He was Wes Lee's tag team partner in NXT, but there was a picture that surfaced of him with like a Hitler-style mustache, and he got fired. Basically, he got fired when his ex-girlfriend brought the picture to surface, even though the picture was like 10 years old.
Oh yeah.
And they said, even though there was supposed to be 5 wrestlers in this downloadable pack, there was, they took out Nash Carter when he got fired for reasons, and they said, oh, but we're going to give you some Sapphire cards for the card game, which you can unlock yourself just by playing the game. And people are like, wait a minute, you're taking out a wrestler because he did something stupid, and what you're putting in place of him is a couple Sapphire cards that we could easily get just by playing the game ourselves in the My Faction part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was a good move? Because everyone hates that move. Everyone's like, we should have gotten another legend if you couldn't keep Nash Carter in the game.
Well, Nash Carter, I heard of that name before, but it doesn't ring any bells. Like as far as like nostalgia or anything interesting about him. Because
he's a current day wrestler. He's not a legend.
Okay, all right. So, I guess you could say that it was stupid on their part to get rid of that that wrestler because why? Well, because of some picture from 10 years ago. That means is that everything we do from now on of anyone in the entertainment industry, whether it's podcasted, whether it's wrestling, anything, 20 years later, if we become major people in the industry, now all of a sudden, these past transgressions or past pictures or videos even can be a detriment to us. Like, it doesn't make any sense after a while. You might as well just have everyone not take part in the entertainment industry and not take any risk. So.
Yeah, but I mean, they didn't. I mean, I think, I know this isn't a wrestling podcast, but since it doesn't, but obviously we're going to talk about wrestling sometimes, I think they went a little overboard with the picture. They should have said, listen, they should have took Nash Carter, who was Zachary Wentz in Impact Wrestling, for anyone who watches Impact Wrestling. They should have taken him and said, listen, we're getting a lot of flack. We're going to suspend you. You're not in trouble. We're just going to suspend you to basically save face, but we're going to bring you back when people forget about this picture. They could have done that because like a week or two later, after the picture came out, no one cared.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, they just fired them immediately.
Well, I did some. I did some. Not all the time, but because of my situation as a worker, there are times where you become immature, and we were all younger back then, and especially with me, I made some mistakes, and whether it's about having a good time, or whether it's to find a date, or whether it's just a bullshit at the office, that's what happens. But we can't control every single little thing what the workers do in any of these workplaces, no matter if it's wrestling, podcasts, or whatever. To a great extent, that is. So what my point is that it's like you cannot just keep on doing this cancel culture style type of situation. I mean, I wish we're all perfect people to some extent, but we're not. I guarantee you that if I ever ran for office in my local congressman area against Congressman Meeks, whatever. So my politics for a second, 20 years later, whether it's 10 years later, whatever, people will find out about my gaming career and be like, oh, this guy is gamers are mass shooters, gamers are detached from society, and all this other nonsense, and I'll be ousted from the political arena, that type of style. So it's like, or a situation. I know it's politics, but wrestling and politics go hand in hand, right? So.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, Kane was a gamer, and he's now, I think, a mayor. So.
Well, he's a wrestler. He was a wrestler. He was a wrestler before becoming the congressman or the politician he ran for office for.
But he's also a gamer too.
Okay, but he's older than us. He's like in his late 40s now, if not mid at best.
I think in his 50s. I mean, he's been around under a couple different gimmicks. So.
Oh yeah, but still, it's like Kane is like he's the older, more mature, tall, handsome to some ladies out there type of guy for his political office. While it comes to my situation, I don't have the boyish looks or the money and power right this second. But if I did have money and power, it would definitely affect my bottom line if they found out about all our antics on these podcasts, let alone the videos we made in the past. So it's like because you can't cancel everyone that makes it in this world, and thinking that it's going to work and make an example out of them. Because then most people who are younger than us, which is going on right now, they don't want to take no risks. These younger gamers, they don't want to take that risk where it's like they want to be a big shot businessman or a model if they're females or whatever, or perhaps even a chef or something that would be famous at something and still play video games. That type of sense. It just doesn't make any sense at all for this to happen.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a shame. My second question is the My Faction mode, which is basically the card mode. Basically you can get different kinds of cards for different wrestlers. But the thing is, what they added in to replace this wrestler was cards that you could get just by playing the game.
Okay.
What do you think of that being 2K's remedy?
Well, I'm never played the most recent wrestling games as far as like the 2K series, especially. Hell, I haven't just played the 2K 2016 game with the Stone Cold Steve Austin edition or with the version because these games don't appeal to me anymore like they used to.
Right.
So
don't get me wrong. I still got 2K20, and it's honestly sometimes I can't even get myself. I haven't played it in months because.
Yeah, the wrestling games.
The 2K games are just not as fun as they used to be.
Exactly. That's my point exactly.
But my question is for this My Faction mode where you get cards. What do you think of them saying, okay, we had to take out this wrestler because he no longer works there, but we're going to give you some sapphire cards or gold cards that you could get even if you just played the game?
Well, I don't know much about that, the earning system in these games, so I can't really say much about it. So
okay, my opinion is you're giving us something that if we grinded, we could have gotten anyway, and that's not a reward.
Well, I did attend the. Speaking of earning rewards and stuff, I did attend the Halo 5 tournament at the Microsoft Store back in 2019 of August. And if you were in fourth place of the preliminaries,
And earlier, like if you get fourth and or third and second and so on, you get a free gift or free participation rec pack from them, and I'll send it to you via the Halo 5 server. So that's not bad. I mean, that's what I did when I was grinding at that game. But of course, that was Halo. That's first person shooter, right? But it's still there's incentives to keep playing that game. But now with the rest of the games of today, it's like I don't know. I can't tell you the definite, exact answer.
All right. Also, before we move on, if you want to create Nash Carter, you can create him. MSK's team name and their tag entrance is still in the game. So basically, if you created wrestler Nash Carter, you could team him up with Wesley, give him the MSK entrance and stuff, and you'll have to create him, but it's possible to create a pretty spot on Nash Carter, especially with community downloads. You just download someone else's creation, and then put the tag team entrance together.
Oh yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next. Madden NFL 23 is not coming to Xbox Game Pass, EA confirms. The upcoming professional football game from EA Sports is not, in fact, coming to Game Pass. Madden NFL 23 will not be released on Xbox Game Pass despite what a banner ad on Xbox.com suggested. A spokesperson for EA told GameSpot that this was a mistake. There was an error in how Madden NFL 23 was displayed on Xbox.com and has since been corrected. Madden NFL 23 will not be available with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, the EA spokesperson said. While Madden NFL 23 is not coming to Game Pass, Xbox has done early access bundles in the past for games that appeared on Game Pass during launch day. For example, MLB The Show 2022 on Xbox Game Pass had a $50 deal that provided the same early access period as the game's Digital Deluxe and MVP editions. The page, which was captured by GameSpot and can be seen below, also advertised the digital-only All Madden edition, which costs $100. The edition includes cross-purchase between console generations, 3 days early access, 4,600 Madden points, all Madden gear, your choice of 2 elite players, 1 offensive and 1 defensive, an all Madden elite player, and a strategy item. Players who want this edition will need to pre-order by July 22nd. Madden NFL 23 launches on August 19 for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series. The new consoles versions of the game are getting a FieldSense gameplay system, which has improved animations and physics to enhance the ultra-realistic gameplay. While Madden NFL 23 is not coming to Game Pass, Microsoft is expected to share lots more Game Pass news during the Xbox Bethesda showcase. Okay, so we talked about how Madden 23 was doing something really nice, honoring John Madden since his passing in December.
Okay.
But actually, I uploaded the clip to BitChute and Rumble a few hours ago. How they were honoring John Madden because in this new Madden copy. But don't you think that's kind of like a slap in the face that they're not going to put it on Game Pass, especially when they put their previous games on Game Pass?
That's a little screwed up because for how many months, if not a couple of years now, EA Access is also available on the Game Pass users and vice versa. So I don't know what's going on here. Now they want to cut that out for 1 year or 2 or whatever, how long it's going to last, and thinking that it's all right, because I'm spending we're not spending a fortune on Game Pass, but eventually over time, those bills do accumulate. Those amounts do accumulate over the months and years. So they have to give incentives on how to keep playing the Madden games. For what I hear, Angry Joe's show, he's been bashing EA for years on years of their every year giving the same rehash, cop out, copy and paste style of these games. And I agree with them. It's stupid. Like, I'm not interested in even playing Madden or any of the sports games to begin with because of this level of, the creativity is that bad,
Yeah, but the thing is, because I mean, Madden has been on Game Pass for the last couple of years. Their last 2 games, I think, are available on Game Pass currently as we speak. When this next one comes out, especially one that's honoring John Madden, I'm not saying we should get the extras for free if they're on Game Pass, but come on, this one's honoring John Madden. All his contributions over to the Madden games for over 30 years, 35 years. This is the one they say it's not coming to Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you did something so nice, honoring John Madden, and it's like, oh yeah, but you're not going to get this one on Game Pass.
That sucks.
It's like, I mean, why would you pull this why would you pull this on a game the year you're honoring someone who's been involved in the game since the late 80s?
Oh yeah.
Because the first John Madden was like in football game was like 1988, and it's like, I mean, couldn't they, even if they didn't want to put this one on Game Pass, or couldn't they just wait one more year until they weren't honoring someone that just passed away?
It's all about the money. Trying to make people buy the full game instead of getting a discount or a time exclusive on their services. So.
Yeah, I mean, you might think differently than me, but I'm just thinking, 2 weeks ago, I thought it was really nice that they were honoring John Madden in this next Madden game, Madden 23. And now the fact that they're not going to even just put the base game on Game Pass, it's just like, really? This is the year you're pulling it?
Yep. It's all about the money for quite some time now. It never was about passion or honoring those who created the series or of these games. So,
yeah. Ready to move on?
Yeah. Rest in peace, John Madden. And, I hope one day they will stop this madness and let people just honor those that helped you make that profit. You can't just turn their backs on those people. Like just on like people like Madden and stuff. That's just it's greed,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay, moving on. OMG, PS5 horror game Abandoned is mired in controversy yet again. Apparently, Blue Box Game Studios founder Hassan Kahraman spends more time playing Rainbow Six Siege than working on his game. The last time we heard about Abandoned, the PS5 exclusive that's still shrouded in mystery, developer Blue Box Game Studios swore it wasn't canceled despite reports suggesting otherwise. Well, it seems we're back to questioning the game's existence again after a GameSpot report alleged Abandoned's development is in disarray and that there is no game at all. Abandoned has been mired in controversy since it was revealed almost a year ago. Originally suspected as a disguised Hideo Kojima project, Blue Box Game Studios was dragged for launching a bare-bones PS5 app with nothing in it but a brief teaser to a playable prologue that still hasn't materialized yet. The studio said that technical delays have disrupted its release timeline for the prologue, but the fact that this demo of sorts hasn't come out and the studio was quietly scrubbing its Twitter led to some wonder what's going on. Turns out the game's just changing, according to Blue Box Game Studios. Changing seems to be an understatement, though. In a GameSpot report in which the gaming outlet spoke to more than half a dozen people who have had close contact with studio founder Hassan Kahraman since September 2021, Abandoned is either game stuck in development hell, say hello to Prince of Persia, Sands of Time remake, or something that's not even actively being worked on at all anymore. Making matters worse, GameSpot's anonymous sources claim Kahraman may have been exploiting his fan base and is complicit in nurturing a toxic Discord server. In other words, it's possible Abandoned is in seriously rough shape. GameSpot cited fans who have been involved in Discord servers maintained by Kahraman, where he allegedly made those in attendance sign hastily made NDAs in exchange for behind-the-scenes look at abandoned assets, including animations, screenshots, and even a page of the game's script. Weirdly, some of these materials reportedly featured the words Silent Hill 5 on them, leading those in the group chat to question their veracity. But whenever Corman was questioned by people, according to the GameSpot sources, he would kick them out or make a newer, smaller server full of mostly agreeable stands he vetted through research. He'd then offer these people work on a project that ultimately go nowhere and make other sussy requests, such as asking a member to act as his shipping partner so he could send physical copies of Abandoned to them because Sony apparently needs a storage facility for U.S. distribution. There's also an instance of Caraman allegedly seeking a working and romantic relationship with one of the community members, as well as a 12-year-old who told another member to kill themselves in a PlayStation voice party. Many folks in the server room straight up labeled them as toxic. No matter the amount of servers he created, though Cowman couldn't stop abandoned assets from leaking to either Reddit, Twitter, or both. This caused widespread speculation about the game's existence, which was further underscored in the multiple servers by the game's frequent change in scope. According to those GameSpot spoke with, Abandoned started as a cult-themed horror game similar to Silent Hill. However, when the comparisons to Konami's acclaimed series became too much for Blue Box Game Studios, Abandoned's design was tweaked to become more action-oriented before going back to its OG horror premise that was then focused on a fourth-wall-breaking AI and other governmental conspiracies. The game's since gone through at least one more reimagining, allegedly becoming some sort of vampire concept that sounded like Resident Evil. There was apparently even a multiplayer beta in the works, but it seems Caraman spends way more time playing Rainbow Six Siege deep into the night or chatting with those in his copious servers instead of working on whatever Abandoned is. GameSpot sources said Caraman admitted it to his chats that Abandoned was not in development. It's a fascinating in-depth report that's well worth reading. In an email to Kotaku, a Blue Box Game Studio spokesperson said everyone at the developer is working every day on the game and the prologue, the playable demo that's supposed to fund Abandoned's full development, since neither the publisher nor any other party is helping the studio financially. We are ambitious and we take this seriously, the spokesperson said. Ever since Abandoned was announced, we've had a false start. We just want to have the same opportunity as other developers to work on it peacefully. When pressed about the prologue, the spokesperson said they couldn't provide a release date for now, but confirmed it's in development. The reason the game is not finished and therefore not past the certification process for it to be released, the spokesperson said, until that stage, we will not announce anything and go dark. We want our first media to represent the game for what it is at launch with the prologue. We don't want to be forced to prove it's in development despite the tweets and Twitter poll. We understand why people are questioning it, but it's just a matter of time. The Blue Box Game Studio spokesperson also said no one was active on Discord and that the group GameSpot referenced was actually a PlayStation party chat with the sole purpose of playing games together. This was supposed to be a one-time thing, but the fans insisted to keep the group there, the spokesperson said. The group was never meant to showcase Abandoned. Everyone attended on their own choice. People were always treated with the utmost respect. Hassan never forced anyone to play games with him, and based on the chat shown, he always asked members. The spokesperson disputed the romantic relationship claims against Caraman, saying the archived messages were more of a friendly chat. The group ended in early April when one of the fans raged at the group as they were told at some point to show a slice of the game, the spokesperson said. As a result of one of the members informing Hassan of that another member's intention was to leak the slice, this demonstration never took place, and Hassan stated this clearly. That's when the group started to end. Some angry members then reached out to GameSpot. Still, none of these answers the real question. What the hell is going on? It's been about a year since Abandoned was revealed, and there's been absolutely nothing to show for it. Not a new trailer or additional screenshots or anything. So Blue Box Game Studios wants to silence non-believers. It should really consider peeling back the Abandoned curtain a little bit, or just admit to everyone here and now that Abandoned has been abandoned. So what do you think is the future of this game?
Well, from what I hear from this article that you read, is that the same game where back a year, if not a year and a half ago, they showed like a guy walking in a room and that's about it? Something like that?
I think so, yeah.
That was so pathetic on their part. Like I know for one thing it's certain, Abandoned is not the game we're expecting. It's going to be like a very, how should I say this? A cop out of like a of your typical horror shooter. And as one example, I think this is like some sort of scam with Abandon too, because there's this one Steam game where it came out for like a few cents or a couple of dollars or whatever, and people bought the game for what was interested in their reports. But people found out after playing the game there was nothing in the game. You just walk around in emptiness. So it was a scam from the start just to make a few bucks for that developer, or even if it is one person. So if Abandon is going to be like this on the PS5, PS4, Xbox One scale, it's going to be a disaster on all parties, and fucking the ones that may Abandon will be sued by Microsoft and Sony to either fix the game or to give them their money back, and that's going to be a huge shit show in the making if this continues.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the game. We saw the that first video back when we first started the podcast. I think it was like one of the first few episodes, maybe somewhere at like episode 10 or whatever. But I remember that video we showed, and that was the last we heard about anything to do with that game.
Oh yeah.
So Abandon might the title of the game might be what happened to its development. Because if it wasn't quietly canceled, why can't they show us something to keep us on the hook? You know.
Nah, it's about the money.
Over a year. You're saying you don't have any new screenshots or anything?
Either it's a scam or it's just someone trying to make a quick buck and not caring about the quality of the game.
Yes. So apparently, only time will tell. So, if anything else comes up about the story, we'll bring it up when it does.
As always, that's not the case.
Well, before we continue, I'm just going to get a soda because I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for tuning in to those other concern on my end of my podcast. I know that it's a low quality version you're listening in on right now because our Discord is not working well with my computer specifically. So I have no choice but to use the Facebook app in order to talk to him via my phone. So ready when you are.
Okay, moving on. Evil West gets September release date and new vampire-infested trailer. Flying Wild Hog's Evil West, not to be confused with the Weird West from earlier this year, finally has a release date and it's just a few months away. More specifically, Flying Wild Hog and publisher Focus Entertainment will release Evil West on September 20th. This news comes by way of a fancy new release date revealed trailer that you can watch below. It's worth watching because it looks great, complete with plenty of turn-of-the-century action, gore, and western antics. Oh, and monstrous vampires. Can't forget about those. Jump right into frantic, gory carnage in a vampire-infested Wild West as the trailer introduces gunslinger Rentier on his mission to eradicate the supernatural terror. A press release reads, as the star agent in his father's undercover monster hunting organization, his fight is also a personal war against the nightmarish living figures in the vampire world. Take on Jesse's role as the final line between humanity and the vampire threat, rise up to become a Wild West superhero and save the United States. Evil West will feature third-person action gameplay with an arsenal of guns and other weapons. It's PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC on September 20th. Are you excited for Evil West?
Well, I seen the trailer during the showcase of Xbox, and I have to say it looks like a good, decent game to play. And it mixes like both, what's it called? The Wild West with the modern time of third-person shooter, and it's like mixing games like what's it called, Juarez, and games like Red Dead Revolver for the PS2 and all. It's putting it with zombies and vampires and shit. It's like it's gonna be an interesting game to play when I get if I can pre-order it, which I don't want to yet because I was against pre-orders for quite some time now. But at this rate, this game looks like a decent, solid game to play. You know.
Yeah, hopefully it's better than the Evil Dead games that like came out on PlayStation and stuff. Although Xbox One, the last one, Regeneration, wasn't that bad. But yeah, this sounds great. This is a game I'd love to play. So hopefully, I'll get to try it out when it does come out.
It comes with the Game Pass, right?
They didn't say anything about Game Pass, but it's coming out on last gen and current gen systems. So
all right, I'll be able to get a copy of it then.
yeah, so hopefully it's fun as it sounds.
Yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. Next, Deliver Us Mars lifts off in September. A new gameplay trailer for Deliver Us Mars, the sequel to Deliver Us the Moon, has taken off. The video provides looks at how players will traverse and survive the Red Planet, as well as the launch date they'll get to do so. Deliver Us Mars is coming on September 27th. The spacefaring adventure stars Kathy Johansson, an astronaut who enlists on a mission to Mars to locate stolen colonization vessels in search of a way to restore a dying Earth. She's also chasing a mysterious signal that may be linked to her long-lost father. Like the first game, players will split time between solving environmental puzzles as well as platforming. The video shows Kathy scaling cliffs and other structures with her climbing axe, and the game also features scuba diving and zero-gravity exploration. In addition to trekking across Mars' dusty terrain, players will explore icy landscapes as well as interiors of ruined vessels and abandoned colonies. Deliver Us Mars will be available on PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC for $29.99. Publisher Frontier says to expect more information on the game at the PC Gaming Show, which was a few days ago. So, what do you think of Deliver Us Mars? Is that a game you would play?
Well, I never really thought about playing this particular game. I haven't seen the trailer. If I did see the trailer, I missed it by a couple of minutes, so I was away. Yeah, I don't really know much about this game to be honest with you, unless if it's in regards to a parody of the movie from the 1970s called The Deliverance with Burt Reynolds. Is it similar to that?
No, because we're talking about a game that takes place on Mars. Deliverance was like backwards Alabama or backwards.
Yes. You never know.
Not trying to insult anyone.
Of course not. It's like a paradise of survival of the fittest in a sense in the movie Deliverance. I just watched the full movie the other day, so I thought it was something similar to this Mars ship, because that's what's going on with some creators. They want to bring back the old style of cinema style of gameplay from like the antics from the 1970s and 80s, and that's what John Carpenter did with the game of Fear 3 specifically. And had it not been for him, Fear 3 wouldn't be as great interested as it's supposed to be originally. So that's why I have to mention that. And also, John Carpenter, he personally himself made a movie called John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars, featuring Ice Cube, the rapper. He's the main character in that movie. So.
All right. Yeah. So, hold on. Just closing something that didn't need to be open anymore. Yeah. So, this game does sound interesting. Not as interesting as the Vampire game, to be honest. But I also wonder why it's going to be released for basically half price. They say it's coming out at $29.99, meaning this is either going to be an independent game or this is going to be a budget game.
Right.
And that, but then again, there's full price games that also bomb. So just because it's having coming out at a low price point doesn't mean it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds interesting, but this might be one that I wait for reviews before I make my final opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Next. E3 will return in 2023 as a physical and digital show. There's a really strong desire for people to convene, to be able to connect in person and see each other and talk about what makes games great. E3 22 is not happening this year, not as a digital show or an in-person event, but that's set to change next year. The Entertainment Software Associates, which organizes E3 each year, has confirmed that E3 will return in 2023 as a digital and physical event. We're excited about coming back to 2023 with both a digital and in-person event, ESA President and CEO Stan Pierre-Louis told the Washington Post. As much as we love these digital events, as much as they reach people, and we want that global reach, we also know that there's a really strong desire for people to convene, to be able to connect in person and see each other and talk about what makes games great. E3 2020 was canceled due to the pandemic, while E3 2021 returned as a digitally only event. E3 2022 is not happening in any form, but events like Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest Live and the Microsoft Bethesda press conference, among others, are filling the traditional E3 space. The ESA has been criticized for, among other things, its role in leaking personal data from more than 2,000 journalists and analysts. Some have been wondering for years now what role the show has in the future. The dates and specifics for E3 2023 have yet to be announced. The show is traditionally held in June at the Los Angeles Convention Center. So what do you think about E3 confirming that they're going to have a physical show next year?
Well, if they want to continue this tradition, it's a good idea because well, here's the thing what I found about E3. I heard that E3 is for like developers and for those who are in the network of game making, not the general public. So this is good for interaction for the developers to get their first hands on what Xbox games going to be like or PS games going to be like and so on and so forth, especially if they're new to the industry. So I think they should keep on to E3 as well as if they want to make it more relevant, give people, the general public, some tickets. Like sell some tickets for about a few $100 for a couple of days or so, and people will flock to it. They will. Unfortunately, that's not the case for what I hear about E3s for God knows how long. So.
Yeah, it's like I said, E3 is well, not to it's not. It's like I said. It's not the same thing it was before. It's not the same thing it used to be, because now we got people. You know, like we said, with all these like the Microsoft Bethesda press conference and others, E3 is not the designation anymore that you have to be at if you want to showcase what you got going on over the next year. And that's unfortunate. But you know what? At the same time, I would love to be able to attend E3 sometime. It's on the other side of the country.
Yeah, so the fucking California, I heard.
Yeah, that's where E3 is held every year.
Yeah.
So you know, but at the same time, so on one hand, it's good to have that, but at the other hand, if console developers or game developers really wanted to have a showcase, they could really do that anytime they wanted.
I see.
Like they have Summer Game Fest and stuff. It's like they really don't need E3 to happen anymore. And I just wonder if E3 is going to be the same as we remember it when it does come back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else to add?
Well, when it comes to E3 altogether before the pandemic, it was very relevant. But at the same time, it came at a right moment of this pandemic, of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it created this irrelevance in within the network of the developers, the network of showrunners to run these events and stuff. And it's like, you know, E3 is supposed to be the thing of the past, but I see it trying to reinitiate the connections with the developers, at least that. But if they really want to have a decent, continuous relevance to the public, they have to open it up to the public to some extent, not too much, but maybe like about 100 tickets, or I mean, even if it's like a arena of about 1,000 people, open up for about 200 tickets for those who wants to attend the event for a few $100. That's not bad. I could do it one day, you know.
Right. So yeah. So if you're excited about E3, just yeah, it's hold on. Just looking for an article. Yeah, so if you're excited about E3, it's coming back next year in physical form. I was against them canceling the digital version this year, if nothing else. But hopefully, when it does come back, it'll be what we remembered before the pandemic.
Yeah, but for what other people like Review Tech USA mentioned, E3 is it's not really, it can be placed in the series of events for that particular time of year, hence June of every year. But who's really going to watch that? You know, the showcases from E3 directly, because other companies are doing their own little thing. You got Capcom doing their own thing. You got Nintendo doing their own thing. Bethesda, Microsoft, PlayStation. Like, what's the point of E3 being around?
Jeff Keighley has his own game showcase going on.
What about the showcase? I'm sorry.
Jeff Keighley. He's a person that's hosted video game showcases about video games.
Right.
He's even been at the E3 himself.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's coming back next year. Hopefully, it comes back in the form we all remember it for being. And it's the same E3 that we loved before the pandemic happened. Ready to go? Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next. Xbox Game Pass adding streaming for non-Game Pass titles soon. If you own the game, it won't matter if it's not also included on Xbox Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers will soon be able to stream a selection of Xbox games they personally own to other devices. Yes, that means games that aren't in the Game Pass library will finally be cloud compatible. Announced on June 9th, the new feature doesn't yet have a release date, but Microsoft is aiming to have it available by the end of the year. Microsoft said it will let you play select games you own from outside the Game Pass library, which could mean some are still off the table, but it moves us closer to a future where all your games are available anytime, anywhere. This also addresses a situation where games like Destiny 2, which was playable in the cloud through Game Pass for a period of time, are removed from the service and thus removed as a cloud game. The initiative was announced alongside plans to bring Xbox Game Pass support to 2022 Samsung Smart TVs by the end of June. Presumably, the setup will also support playing games you own via your Xbox account. It becomes available later this year. The full Xbox and Bethesda game showcase was held a few days ago. It featured announcements and news from a wide variety of first-party and third-party studios. An extended showcase with deep dives and interviews aired a couple days ago. So, what do you think about almost all games becoming? This has benefits and drawbacks to it, but I want your opinion first. What do you think about almost every game on Xbox becoming stream cloud compatible?
Eventually, they want to have everyone move to the cloud for their game experiences, and I cannot blame them. But at the same time, it's not ready yet anytime soon. I mean, Google Stadia is one of those type of services where they try to have people play 4K 60 frames per second on the cloud, knowing that only the select few wealthy people can do that for the time being. And even then, which is right now, for how many months, if not a couple of years now, they don't have the full 4K experience or the full streaming consistencies of playing their games through the cloud. So I say give it another at least 15 years for a definite and more experienced and better suitable experience for the cloud. And to those that want to keep onto their games for ownership, which is not going to happen because by 2030, the Great Reset is supposed to tell people that, oh, you won't own anything and you still be happy moment. So what you want to call it, the New World Order? You want to call it the Illuminati, whatever? I know I'm breaking out bull crap of conspiracies here, but it's been mentioned by World Economic Forums. It's been mentioned by World Banks and World Forums altogether. They're saying that they want to incorporate these companies, like especially with the games, like with Microsoft and Nintendo and all, to go into the cloud, and that's just that's one of their objectives, or at least one of their missions, is just to do so. So good luck having what you have right now, because 10 years from now, by 2030, you're lucky to even own a car if you're lucky.
Okay, well, I mean, that whole "you'll own nothing and be happy." I really shouldn't do that motion on Twitch, but I think that's a pile of malarkey. No one's going to tell you to be happy. You'll just be happy when you are.
Yes.
And also for retro gamers, we're still going to collect cartridges and CDs and DVDs with games on them. Like I said, I still have my old school Nintendo hooked up.
Okay.
So if like I said, I see benefits, I see drawbacks. The benefit is, these games are really going to become digital only. This is another step moving towards a digital only future, which I do not want. I think physical games deserve people still want a physical game so they can play it when the cloud's not working.
Oh yeah.
This is a drawback. What if your internet or your online capabilities go out because of a storm, or just connection? There's a bad connection in your area. You won't be able to play anything if it was all on the cloud.
Definitely.
As long as I still have electricity, I can play any of my old systems. I can pop in Marvel Ultimate Alliance on Xbox, or anything I want to play. That's not on Xbox One. So that's the drawback. Is basically you'll need the internet to work.
And a constant connection too, while you're at it.
Yeah, and you'll need to maintain a high connection. If you got a slow connection, this is not going to work for you either.
Yeah, high connectivity.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the exact term is, but
yeah, that's the term. You're right.
Yeah, you'll need a fast connection, basically, broadband or something like that. I mean, I know no one has dial-up still, but if you have limited internet or no internet, good luck playing anything.
Yeah, that's why I said give it another 15 years at least. I know it says a long time right there, but by then, that's when everything's going to be solidified of their live services in retrospect,
But on the other hand, this has benefits like, I guess, really the only benefit I can say is maybe laziness. Sometimes I don't want to go pick up a game on the other side of my room. I just wish it was already in my Xbox One. But the thing is, I wouldn't play these games on the cloud anyway. I would want to play them off a disc or off something physical. So if my internet does crap out, I don't lose my game progress. I just lose the connection online. I can still play the game if it's a single player game mode.
Right.
If my internet goes out, the only thing I can't do is play the game online. There's benefits and drawbacks, and the whole conspiracy theory about people will own less and still be happy. You can shove that theory.
Well, most of the gamers of today, especially under 30, they never experienced ownership of their games. They get it from a welfare system. As far as they'll ask their friend to give them Game Pass or Xbox Gold through the home console, and then add it to their console, etc., etc., and then that's how they get their free online experience with the games or such. But now it's everything's going on the cloud. Now it's why not go all the way through and just have people not owning as many of their games. Like they have no license rights, no ownership rights, no whatsoever. Eventually, and that's what's going on right now. And I wish we as gamers of today, who are over 30, over 35 at least, we could tell people, or we try to tell people back how many years ago, like we shouldn't have everything on the cloud. Because let's face it, not everyone will have access to the cloud. Not right away. Not perhaps even not just the future. Eventually, it can happen. Like within, let's say, 25 to 35 years from now, everyone will be on the cloud. Everything will be on the cloud in a sense. Now that one might be a big feat to conquer, but I really like to stick with the old school approach. I like to buy my game, go to the store, buy my game, own the game, or go on the online store, buy that copy, and own license that game, and still keep my copy for forever and ever until I die, until the end of time, whatever. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is my copy of Toe Jam and Earl and Panic on Funkatron for Sega Genesis. As long as I got electricity in my house, I can put this in my Sega Genesis and play this as much as I want. But at the same time, I don't really like this because this is what communist countries do. Like in China, they can control how long people play games because it's all on the internet.
Definitely.
And that's another thing I don't want. If you got a government saying, okay, I want to limit how long people can play games, okay, they can do that through the internet. They can decide, they can decide how long people get to play games. But the reason people in these countries hate home consoles is they can't control them without going to each person's house and making sure they're not playing anymore, which would really be impossible, especially for a big country or even a small-sized country.
Well,
how many places could even a group of government agents visit? In one night.
Yeah, and not only that, as one example, like you said with China, China now tries to centralize their people onto one particular part of the internet in their own little grouping, like a one massive group. And I can understand of doing that, but eventually there'll be newcomers, let alone those who were born before the internet. They will tell the younger generation, like, hey, this internet you see in China every day, all day long, is not just that part of the internet. There's more than parts of the internet beyond scope. And the governments, let alone the older crowd, like anyone who's over 45, 50 years old, they'll say to us younger guys, like, hey, we want you to stop playing games for hours on end by controlling the internet, but you can't control the internet altogether. The internet is not just some central hub like the cable services or the TV programming. The internet, oh sure, it's connected by phone lines and phone services and such back in the past, and then evolve over time. That will, eventually you may be able to centralize the audience. That's about it. That's all you can do. But you can't centralize the internet surrounding a particular country or nation altogether. As long as there's an internet, as long as there's a cable service, as long as there's an internet service, as long as there's an upload button, people will still upload to whatever part of the internet they want to go to. From YouTube to Twitter, MySpace, even down to the everyday conspiracy sites. You want to be that low, because people will still go flock to those sites no matter how much you try to censor the internet.
Right. Yeah. So this gaming on the cloud, it's a nice benefit, but I wouldn't want to be totally dependent on just the cloud. I'd still like to have the option for physical games. I guess that's one reason I'll never stop playing retro games.
Yeah, same here. I just played. What's the game I played? I just played Revolution X the other week or two with on my gaming channel, and it was a good experience. It had problems loading and all because it was a Super Nintendo game, and it was meant to be on the disc version, but it's still playable, and it was nostalgic. But you can't take that away from us gamers, who have experience going to the store and owning a copy of a game. And that's what they're trying to take that away from us as consumers and as gamers, or especially as consumers, because all of us are consumers who are listening in on this podcast. And so, if you take that right away from them, then what's the point of buying stuff then after a while?
Right. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Kojima Productions tries to take down report that apparently leaks upcoming game. Hideo Kojima's next game is reportedly Overdose, starring Death Stranding actress Margaret Qualley. An independent journalist has drawn the attention of Hideo Kojima's studio, Kojima Productions, after publishing a story revealing supposed details about the Metal Gear creator's next game. The game, which the journalist claimed is a horror title, is apparently dubbed Overdose and stars actress Margaret Qualley, who previously appeared in Kojima's Death Stranding. Kojima Productions quickly moved to request that the story be taken down. I hate how Kotaku puts these huge pictures in the middle of the article. Tom Henderson, a freelance reporter who regularly publishes on Try Hard Guides, wrote about Overdose in a June 7th post. The story includes some purported details about Koji Pro's next game, including that it can be played in first and third person. Apparently, the footage Henderson saw, which he claims was sent to him under the condition of anonymity, showed Qualley in a blue dress walking through dark corridors with just a flashlight. After a brief bit of exploration, a jump scare hits the screen, followed by some game over text, and then the words, "The Hideo Kojima game, Overdose." This would have been an open and shut case, but it had it ended there. I mean, Henderson simply reported on what he saw, and that was it. Nothing else to it. However, a Koji Bro representative then reached out to Henderson in an attempt to take the story down, which has given this leak some credence. When asked about the situation, Henderson told Kotaku over Twitter DMs that he learned about Overdose a couple of days ago, but had been hearing rumors of its existence for a long time. He clarified that what he saw was maybe 1 to 2 minutes worth of footage, which was enough to report on, so he shared what he could actually verify. Then came the emails from Koji Pro. I've seen a game that says it's a Hideo Kojima game, but has not leaked any footage, Henderson said. The gist of the email was a request to remove the article and social post, and they would be happy to work with me when they could share more. I'm assuming they don't know what I do. Henderson was quick to point out that he hadn't leaked any official images or videos of the game or breached any NDAs when reporting the story, but specified he'd share more if Koji Pro denied the claims. Kotaku has reached out to Kojima Productions for comment. According to Henderson, whatever Overdose is, it doesn't appear to be a Death Stranding sequel, even if Margaret Qualley, who played Mama alongside Norman Reedus, Sam Porter Bridges, appears in the game. It's curious that they're not connecting Reedus' seemingly revealed Death Stranding 2 in an interview with men's lifestyle site Leo last month, though it's also possible that Reedus' comments simply means he was working on another game with Kojima and not specifically a Death Stranding follow-up. Still, Henderson thinks that with Kojima reportedly talking to Xbox about publishing his next game, an announcement may be imminent. Kojima was also Zooming with Summer Games Fest host Jeff Keighley last month, so who knows. Assuming it's a real game, Overdose could show up sooner than we expect. Okay, this is kind of weird to me. I mean, if it's a game that's coming out or a game that's in development, why would we want the story killed? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Wait, I'm sorry, the story is not being mentioned anymore?
No, why would, I'm saying, if someone reported on what he saw, why would Hideo Kojima want the report taken down?
Probably because of copyright law?
There's no copyright, there's no images, there's no videos. If I see 1 to 2 minutes of a game and I report on what I saw, but I don't include any images or videos, I didn't add anything, I didn't leak anything. I just reported what I saw.
Oh, okay. Well,
Kojima still wanted that report pulled. I don't understand why. Especially, I mean, does he not want more publicity on a game, or? That doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe because of the fact that he's conflicted with between Microsoft and Sony as of late. From what I hear, there's been rumors circulating that Kojima's trying to work for both Sony and Microsoft. So whatever this upcoming game is coming out, it might be a PlayStation exclusive or an Xbox exclusive or whatever, or a time exclusive, and he wants to timely put it out there, but not too much out there until later on. So I guess he tried to bring this reporter in and to show his office work. But that's Kojima's problem. Like he should have thought about that before giving that kind of privilege to the reporter, because now the reporter is in his or her hands to report the matter. That's like me saying that I go online and broadcast my opinion on about Game Boy Color, and then all of a sudden Nintendo will ask me for to take it down, or whatever. It's like you can't do that. Like I just don't. I understand it's a slightly different story. Why I mentioned that as a what if, but still, it's like, what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's like if we added this podcast to the places that we uploaded, and they said and it's like if Hideo Kojima contacted us and said, "Hey, I don't want you discussing this story." It's like we didn't, First Amendment says we can talk about the story.
Well, he's from Japan, so there's different laws with Japan about copyright law, let alone law about speech law or whatever. So maybe he's from because Japan is kind of strict when it comes out to standards of gesturing certain things going on in the industry via the reporting system or reporting the facts, i.e. Kotaku, Tencent companies, and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, so I guess that might have something to do with it. Maybe he just wasn't ready for info to get out about it. It just sounds like a weird, isn't any press good press?
Something like that. Depends on how well you put it out there, and whatever Kojima was thinking of sharing it with that reporter, it should have been Kojima should have kept his mouth shut and hold off on any publication of the matter until a few months later, if he wants to be that strict with the matter.
Yeah, not to mention giving them the dangling carrot. Oh, you take this down, I'll give you more information when we're ready.
I just don't understand of today's public figures, because they say that they go on the internet, they broadcast themselves, they flaunt off their talents, whether it's a female or a male model or a female model, gamer, designer, and all of a sudden, when it's all out there for how many months and years, now you want to retract that back? That's like with, I know it sounds like I'm slightly changing the topic. Chris Chan, I'm sure everyone heard about him so far by now. Chris Chan said publicly on one of his videos as of late before he got arrested, he's saying, everyone, I want all my videos, all my posts, everything off the internet. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. You had that opportunity to stop any time, and let alone from like 10, 12, 15 years ago. And I've been hearing Chris Chan since as early as, 2010, 2009? So, for those who are... Yeah?
Not to mention, you could be taken off the internet, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be out there. People probably, there are people who do record videos of creators they like, so they always have them should they go off the internet,
Yeah, another example, a rapper by the name of Josh on Deck. I keep mentioning him once in a while on my channel on YouTube. The guy manually discovered my videos of me being used in one of his music tracks. He manually discovered them and terminated my channel because I refused to take it down, knowing that I told him, "Hey, dude, it's not my problem. It's not my fault that you put it out there for how many years before I came across it, and then when I put it out there on my channel, now it's a problem." It's not like I understand it's his property, it's his rights, it's his raps and stuff. But once he put it out there publicly, it's all fair game. You cannot take it back. I mean, the things I put out there on the internet, I'm asking people to download my content just in case, and I can't take those words back. So, it is what it is. Yeah, you gotta reap what you sow.
Yeah, so it's just weird, but it's just a weird story, basically.
Yeah, Kojima. I mean, I would say he's not the best sociable man to hang around by those who are very outspoken and out there being social and stuff. But Kojima's doing his best to keep a fine line between creativity, professionalism, and consistency going. But he also has to learn the fact that, once until you talk to people outside your network of gamers, your network of creators, your network of developers, your network of those you trust, because those people outside your network don't give a damn about your perspective or what you want from them in specific requests. They want that actual juicy story. Because when it comes to Kojima, he has to learn. Kojima is the guy who created Metal Gear Solid series. He was the one, or not literally created, but he took part in creating what Solid Snake is to be a legend among, as far as the legendary characters of gaming history. So you can't just be like, take all that back just because the fact that you feel like it's no longer your relevance or no longer your interest. Once until you put it out there, man, and Kojima, if he's listening in and he's getting a translation of this recording of this podcast, Mr. Kojima, you put this shit out there for 25, 35 years almost. You expect nothing, out of everything what you put out there now? Like, it's just a waste of your time then. You wasted 25 years, 30 years of your time.
Yeah. I just had to check something. There was a big slam. Someone probably let the back door slam.
Yeah, sure. I'll be on hold. Hold on a second, guys. We'll wait for Triple H to come back.
No, I already checked it.
Okay, perfect. Great.
All right, so ready to move on?
I want to say to Kojima out there, if he's listening in somehow, some way, whoever can relay this message to him, to those who are close with him, Mr. Kojima, you're a respectable man. Whether you have a social related problem with others or not, that's not the problem. The problem is that you put your work out there for so many decades. Now it's a problem of putting something like this of this newly creation you want to put out there is a problem. Kind of like a contrary thing for you to do, Mr. Kojima. And I hope that one day you'll stick with what we're supposed to do. A legendary creator of gaming, so.
Yeah, we're both big Hideo Kojima fans. We're both big Metal Gear Solid fans. I think that's another reason the story was so surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I would kill to have his status as a game businessman and a game maker what he does for a living. I can't do all that design and technicalities and stuff like that. I can do the business portion somehow, some way, accumulate funds, network, secondary funds, promissories. They said I can do all that within a matter of my own free will and time. But all that design, all that creation, I want to put it out there if I want to be that kind of, have that status, to have that notoriety, that respect from other gamers, let alone people in general. Because once until people find out who you are, they're like, oh, Metal Gear Solid, oh, that game from the Super Nintendo, I forgot what it's called. It was some game that he created before Metal Gear came out, the original Metal Gear. So it was back in
Metal Gear and Snake's Revenge for Nintendo.
Yeah, it's not Metal Gear. It's another game before Metal Gear. I forgot what's it called. But he created something like that and was very revolutionary in gaming at the time. So he created a mark in gaming history. So yeah. That's all I got to say.
All right, so time to move on.
Yeah.
Microsoft promises 5 more Xbox exclusive Game Pass demos in the next year. Xbox Cloud streaming and Fortnite will only be on new Samsung Smart TVs for now. Microsoft laid out some of its big plans for gaming ahead of Sunday's Xbox and Bethesda showcase, and those plans include a steady stream of more big exclusives, expanded Game Pass perks, and bringing video game cloud streaming directly to smart TVs. Most of the plans are forward-looking, but Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer and others in Xbox leadership have given themselves roughly a year to deliver on the promises as the company tries to build on last year's momentum. Last fiscal year, we launched 5 new games across console, PC, and cloud. We are on track to meet or exceed that amount in the next fiscal year, Microsoft said in a briefing to press. The company's next fiscal year ends June 30th, 2023. Head of Xbox Studios, Matt Booty, pointed to the release of games like Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, Age of Empires 4, and the console version of Flight Simulator, and said the next year of Xbox will be based on that same regular cadence of hit games. That might come as a shock to many, considering Microsoft still hasn't confirmed any first-party exclusives for launch in 2022, after Starfield and Redfall were delayed until early 2023. New exclusives are one of the main draws for Game Pass, and they're beginning to dry up. The company also previewed its plans to double down on Xbox cloud streaming and Game Pass, beginning with the service coming to smart TVs on June 30th, but specifically only 2022 Samsung models. An app will let players launch games through the Game Pass subscription directly on their TVs without any console or dongle necessary. They'll even be able to use a PS5 DualSense to play them. Meanwhile, Fortnite, since it's free to play, will be available to anyone without a subscription as well. Microsoft says the intent is to explore other TV partnerships going forward. Last month, it confirmed that a universal dongle attachment called Keystone that could plug into any TV still isn't ready. Here are some of the other highlights. In the next year, subscribers will be allowed to start streaming games they already own, in addition to the rest of the Game Pass catalog. We discussed that earlier. Updates to Windows 11 to add a new HDR calibration tool, PC gaming optimizations, and a controller bar to access games and streaming without a mouse and keyboard. Updates to the Microsoft Edge browser to add a gaming homepage, better graphics while streaming games, and better browser efficiency while games are running. New demos locked behind the Game Pass membership with an eye toward showcasing independent creators. That last bit is especially interesting. While in the past demos were usually free ways to try out games, Microsoft appears to be following in Sony's footsteps by making it a monetized pack as part of paid Game Pass subscriptions. The PlayStation maker is doing the same with PlayStation Plus starting just a few days ago. But there is one major difference. While Sony's initial messaging to developers said time trials for games would be mandatory, Microsoft says its demo progress will be optional and allow developers to be compensated for sharing the games with the Game Pass audience. Like most of the rest of the company's plans right now, however, there are few specifics and no clear timeline for when these new features will go live. Hopefully we'll get clearer details during Microsoft's showcase. So what do you think of these new what do you think about what they're trying to do over the next year?
Well, I forgot which games you mentioned though at first.
I didn't mention game. Well, other than Fortnite, the games I mentioned first were just games that already came out. They're talking about trying to make the service accessible even if you don't have an Xbox.
Oh yeah, because now, like you mentioned before, with Samsung TVs, smart TVs have now the Xbox app. I heard. So if I can go back to my living room, I can. If my Xbox got damaged somehow, some way again in my living room, I could definitely use the app on the smart Samsung TV. So that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's and also new demos coming to Game Pass. That's a good thing because that's one reason people subscribe to Game Pass. I've subscribed because of the huge game selection. Just joined it like a couple of weeks ago. I'm having a blast. But yeah, there has to be an influx of games coming and going to keep the service
relevant.
To keep the service must have for someone who has a system.
Oh yeah, because when it comes to the Xbox exclusives for the Game Pass and all, it's worth the buy. But eventually, it's like you bought so many games after a while, and you have other games from your past. It will create this not a game crash, obviously, but it creates this alternative wound up moment in all of gamers, of all ages, because now we got Fortnite. How many years? It's been out for 5 years now, Apex Legends has been around for 3-4 years now. Um, CFE's been around for a good year and a half now. So it's like, after a while, it's like, more games are added to the library. People are going to now be dispersed throughout the entire consoles of Xbox Series S and X, as well as Xbox One and Xbox 360, if you think about it. Because there are still some players still playing Xbox 360 games, and they don't have none of the newer systems. So I congratulate them for keep staying in there for making it more relevant to play Xbox 360 games still. Other than that, it's you have to be like you have to be a loyal customer to enjoy these experiences of Xbox Game Pass at least.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next, TMNT Shredder's Revenge releases, released yesterday, gets Casey Jones and 6-player co-op. At long last, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge got the two things fans have been begging for. Casey Jones as a playable character, and it came out yesterday. The retro-inspired beat-em-up launched yesterday. Casey also has been labeled as an unlockable character, meaning he won't be available to use from the get-go. And another pleasant surprise, the game now has up to 6-player online co-op instead of only 4. Enemies also scale in size based on the number of players. Expect to face a Ton-of-Foot clan with a 6-person squad. You can play TMNT Shredder's Revenge on PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's also on Game Pass. I downloaded it last night. What do you think of the inclusion of Casey Jones? Do you even remember who Casey Jones is?
Casey Jones, who is he again?
He's the guy who wore the hockey mask. He helped out the Ninja Turtles.
I don't remember that. I remember the guy with the cricket bat. Yeah, definitely him. Okay, I remember seeing him in the first TMNT movie of the live action version.
He was in the first live action movie.
Yeah, okay, I remember him now, but not the actual name until now. So,
his name, as far as I know, was always Casey Jones, and he was always like an ally of the Turtles.
Right. I thought, if I remember correctly, though, when back many weeks ago, they mentioned that TMNT Shredder's Revenge is going to come out this summer, obviously, but they shown the 4 Ninja Turtles, April, and then obviously the Rat Ninja or the Rat Master.
Splitter.
Yeah, it's Splitter, and that's it. Now, obviously, you mentioned something of Casey Jones. Like, wow, that's interesting.
And the thing is, I've heard this game is short. It could be beaten in a couple hours. But they did say that, but this article just said Casey Jones is going to be an unlockable. So you'll basically have to play the game a second time if you want to play as him.
Okay.
And he's, I don't remember him being in any other Ninja Turtles game. Again, after like the Super Nintendo version, I kind of lost. I really didn't keep up with Ninja Turtles games. I know they were like a munch on 360 and stuff. But I never had the chance to play as Casey Jones or April, or even Splinter for that matter.
Mm-hmm. After all these decades, too, yeah. Speaking of April, did you know that they tone her down, her sexuality a bit? Her sex appeal?
No, I didn't know that.
So I posted on my Twitter back a few hours ago, earlier today, and it says me saying that they took out April away from us, the original April, because back during the TMNT video game games in the 1990s, I forgot which one it was. They show April with a cleavage and all yellow jumpsuit and all. Yes, they doing that for the Shredder's Revenge, but they button up her shirt as well as made her look less busty in a sense. But you still see something, but it's not appealing as much. So I guess
I never really recognized that in the older games. So
yeah, it was a big thing for some of us gamers as we get older with the Tomb Raider Lara Croft and Hannah from Fear Effect and April from TMNT. The games,
if this was during the NES SAX games, I would have recognized. If these came out during the 360 PS2 games, I never played those. So.
Well, we're talking about the ones from the 1990s.
Okay.
Like Turtles of Time?
Yeah.
something of that sort.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's TMNT Shredder's Revenge. We're going to be playing it next Thursday if we don't have any technical difficulties.
Yeah, I told you the other day that you should download it and see if you play it for yourself. Unfortunately, I haven't played it myself yet, but I'll wait until we play together, and we'll do that.
That's what I'm waiting for. I already downloaded it, but I'm going to wait till Thursday when we stream it on Twitch.
Yeah, I got time next Thursday for us to do a game session. Hopefully, there'll be no more problems, because I did report it to Xbox to fix their servers. Because we kept having technical problems thanks to Discord and Xbox Live. It's like everything is all over the place now. It's like there's no like do we need to pay more money to these companies in order to maintain servers now? Like, come on, you know?
Yeah. Well, anyway, like I said, I'm looking forward to Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I have since the announcement came out, and we're going to be playing it next week if you're watching on my Twitch channel, it'll be streamed live on Twitch. So
same with my Twitch as well, Dr. Gaze 101.
So we'll be checking it out next Thursday. Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Dr. Games 101's not going to be happy with this next story.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign won't include a no Russian style mission. No. The infamous mission has generated significant controversy since its 2009 release, but don't expect anything like it to appear in 2022's Modern Warfare 2. Don't expect to see the return of Call of Duty Modern Warfare's 2 highly controversial No Russian mission from the 2009 game and the upcoming title of the same name. The upcoming Modern Warfare 2 is the sequel to 2019's hit reboot of the first Modern Warfare game. It may bear the same name as 2009's game that featured the infamous mission, but Infinity Ward confirmed with GameSpeed that nothing like it will be included in the reboot. Among the most significant revelations from the interview is the announcement that there will be no mission similar to No Russian, a level that was originally included in Modern Warfare 2's original 2009 debut and the 2020 remaster. Designed by Respawn Entertainment co-founder and former Apex Legends narrative design director Mohammed Alavi, the single-player campaign mission requires players to gain the trust of a Russian terrorist by participating in a mass shooting at an airport in Moscow. The mission's title comes from directions given to the player character just before the mission begins. Remember, no Russian. This order is meant to remind members of the terrorist cell to maintain their anonymity by not speaking their native language or participating in the shooting. To me, we're very deliberate about what we're putting in. If it feels like if we feel like it serves the story or it serves what we're trying to do, we'll put something in, something that might be more edgy, and Infinity Ward game director Jack O'Hara explained in the interview when asked about the violent mission in the original game. But if we don't, then there's no need to be gratuitous with that kind of thing. There's always a part of it where we want people to think about the story. We don't want them to just be on a ride, essentially. Right now, there's nothing that I would say matches No Russian, though, in terms of what we're trying to do. No Russian is easily one of the, if not the most violent missions in the original Modern Warfare 2 and its remastered edition. But it's worth noting that players can complete the mission without firing a single shot. Players can simply walk through the airport without firing their weapon and wait for the massacre to end. There's also an option to skip the level entirely, and players will not receive a penalty for doing so. Still, those who do choose to participate in the mission will be exposed to a horrific scene. Innocent civilians running for their lives as victims who have been shot, crawled towards cover, often being killed before they can make it to safety. Long trails of blood are smeared across the floor as the screams of the injured echo through the airport's terminal. Bodies lie in piles. It is undeniably hard to watch, really, and for some hard to play. One playtester who had served in the military in real life refused to play the level at all, and this is what prompted developers to add the penalty-free option to skip the mission. Still, many players criticized the mission's intense, gruesome violence, with some arguing that the remaster had in fact made the mission even more traumatizing. Infinity Ward and Activision have revealed a lot about Modern Warfare 2 this week, including what to expect from its campaign. This game won't feature a zombies mode, we'll be covering that next, or much environmental destruction in multiplayer. It's scheduled for release on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC October 28th. The PC version will be available on Steam, where it'll cost $70. Pre-orders are live now and provide early access to an upcoming open beta. We talked about this 2 weeks ago in the last podcast, where we knew there was a chance a mission like this would be pulled. Now it sounds like this mission has been removed from the game.
Yep.
Anything to add to that? What's your reaction?
Why? Why? You removed no Russian. That was my baby. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have nothing to say about the dramatics. At the same time, it's not like people are being forced to play it. I mean, as long as people could skip it, what was the problem?
Yeah, I did a recording back sometime earlier this year, late last year, of Modern Warfare 2 sample gameplay. And one of those sample gameplays of Modern Warfare 2 was the no Russian I experienced. And I was like, whoa, that's fucked up. And I was like, wow, that's the experience. So, my reactions on record, voice commentary, that is, not video commentary. So, it's an intense moment at the time. It was considered to be one of the most controversial gaming scenes of all gaming history, of any gamer to see.
Yeah, and I remember the news reports about it when it first came out.
Yeah, I didn't see the news.
I mean, the mission really didn't bother me, and I participated in the shooting. I mean,
you really participated in the shit, huh?
Yeah, I didn't walk through the level. I felt like I didn't know the story was linear. I felt like if I had just walked through the level, I would have been, I didn't know the story was linear, basically.
Right.
It was my first time playing the game. I mean,
yeah. But Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009, I never got too involved with the Call of Duty series until 2016 with Black Ops 1 and 2. And then by 2016, later on that year, I started playing more of Infinite Warfare when it came out for that year. So ever since when Infinite Warfare had a beta and had all these special events going on for this new game, I started playing Black Ops 1 and 2 again. Or not again, but for the first time in my life of any Call of Duty games. So it's like, those were my first 3 Call of Duty games I played. And I think, and thank goodness that, I waited months, if not years later, for a decent discount or offer I could buy for a few bucks for the double pack of Black Ops 1 and 2. So, other than that, I got the Modern Warfare Trilogy sometime earlier this year or late last year, and I've been playing it since, on and off. I finished playing it earlier this year, and it was a good experience. You get to come back, go after Makarov throughout the entire 3 Modern Warfare games. It was all right. It was fucked up at the end what happened in Modern Warfare 3, but other than that, they try to make it very edgy or very shocking to the gamer out there, to the average gamer especially. Now, obviously, it's the year 2022 where this SJW is rising up and fighting back or fighting some sort of censorship with our games, from anime games to violent video games like Scorn's coming out this year or next year, as well as the other game. It's called Hell's Gate or something for the PS4 and Xbox One. I forgot what it's called. It was something about where you were in hell and you were seeing these Baphomet style demons coming after you with big titties and all, showing off their as a woman's breasts and all. This was shown by PewDiePie many months, if not years ago, back when it was like a pre-release, like sort of like a demo. But they toned it down a lot after the demo came out and made them mature instead of adults. So, other than that,
my experience with Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 was actually the first one I ever played. Then I played the first Black Ops when it came out, and that was it after the first Black Ops. I have 2, and I think I have Call of Duty Ghost on shelf behind me. if I want to play those. But yeah, I'm not. Again, It's a mission. It's a video game. I mean, you really want to talk about disturbing missions? We could talk about the White Phosphorus mission and Spec Ops: The Line. That's also actually even quite. That's really disturbing. But it's a video game.
Mm-hmm.
We use video games just like movies, just like TV shows, just like music, just like books, as an escape from reality. We don't want to start taking things out that might be too offensive for some people, because then it's not really much of an escape.
Speaking of taking stuff out, have you noticed for the last several years the gaming industry, the anime industry are trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator of the fan base, meaning that they try to expand their audience to a great extent to make it more generic, to make it more plain, to make it more basic, rather than make it over the top, make it overzealous or over abundant, and maybe even extreme at times. They don't do that anymore with the games of today as much, that to my awareness.
So yeah, it's again, it's these games, video games are like basically an escape. They're an entertainment medium, and that's the way they should be looked at.
Yeah.
And like I said, honestly, I would have had no problem if they included the no Russian mission, as long as they included the option for people to skip it if they didn't want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was? I mean, I don't think they should have removed it, but they made the decision to do so anyway. Ready to move on?
I want to say too is that to those that are out there listening in at any given time of this recording, I understand that no Russian is very controversial and all, but we as gamers, we have a right to see what we want to see as far as like what we pay for. So if you're buying a mature rated game, you're going to expect a lot of mature content. But the parents, for how many decades now, especially since when Bully came out, where they protest in the streets in front of these offices, tell them to stop putting out games about hatred and all. I'm like, wait a second, your parents, you have the money, you have the power to buy the games, and you have the nerve to say that you want to take the game out of the market because of your child saw content of it, knowing that you gave him the game person yourself. Get out of here. I mean, if I had a son, if I may say this also, if I had a son, I would give him little by little what I know about certain things going on with the games and stuff. Like I'll stay with him in the same room, be like, hey, make sure you don't do this, make sure you don't do that. It's just a game, That's it.
Maybe if your child's 8 years old, they're still too young to play Doom or Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, these kids. Yeah, these kids on Xbox Live, especially where based on my experience, they're very like hardcore with their tone. They'll call you nigger. No offense to anyone out there. They'll call you a loser. They call you a mom's basement, stuff like that. Like these kids are vicious online. But now as they get older and they see what they hear or what they did to other players, it's gonna come back to haunt them. It sucks because the parents were not there to tell them get the fuck off the Xbox Live with other adults playing,
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing is also, it's since you brought up this issue, I'll talk about it briefly. If the parents buy the video game for the kids, it's the parents' fault.
Yeah.
These because retailers, I even ran into it just because I didn't have an ID at the time. I was waiting for it to come through the mail. I had a little when Red Dead Redemption, the first one, came out. I had my temporary non-driver's ID card, but that's like a slip of paper. It doesn't have your picture on it. I was waiting for the permanent one to come through the mail to prove that I was of age. And since I didn't have that, I had to go through. It was a struggle to purchase Red Dead Redemption because Red Dead Redemption was rated mature. Even though they knew I was out of high school, I don't know why they had such a problem at first.
It's a new policy back then, back in the mid 2000s, after the controversial games came out back in the 90s. So here's what happened with the 1990s. They created an ESRB rating where it's supposed to rate the game based on mature, adult, everyone, etc., right? But it was still processing little by little after the fact. Because back in the 90s, we go to Funkoland in over Valley Stream, where we used to go for our games and such. They didn't ask for IDs back then for like mature games like D2 or Mortal Kombat. But after 2005, 2004 or 3, that's when they picked up the ID system. You know?
The reason I bring it up is because I was like, well, my college ID worked.
Okay.
And they're like, are you still in college? I'm like, no, not anymore. They're like, then we can't use your college ID. Well, if I was in college, obviously I'm over the age of 18.
Makes sense, yeah.
So, and finally they said if you got some other form of ID, but then you got your temporary driver's ID card to prove you are the name, your name matches the ID, will sell you it. But the thing is, I'm really not mad at that situation because, if you buy a mature game, you're not going to be buying it yourself unless you're 17 or older. If you buy a T-rated game, T for teen, you're not going to walk out with it unless you're 13 or older yourself, or unless you have a parent with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not these, so if an 8-year-old gets a T-rated game or an M-rated game, they only got it because if they got it from a retailer, they only got it because the parent was with them and said it was okay.
My mom is an example of that too. She let me buy whatever I want to buy at one point, Mortal Kombat, Super Mario Brothers, and that was it. That was like my first real time playing the games in actual memory. So it's having that been for my mom, I only played Super Mario Brothers that came with the Super Nintendo package. What do you buy this? Because back in the day, they had these packages where you buy for Super Nintendo to buy with the Super Mario game, Super Mario All Stars. So that was pretty good. That was a pretty good deal. And I still have that copy to this day of all of these games as well. So I'm glad. But yeah. It's all on the parents now, and the parents can't just take their rights away from as being parents, because eventually the state will be your parent, and that's not a good sign after a while for the society at large.
Right. So anyway, the point I was making is, we got age ratings on these games. Don't tell me retailers are just selling them to people that are underage, because retailers can get fired for that if they are caught.
And be out of business too.
I've had was them enforcing the ESRB. So it's basically the parent's fault. And if a parent buys their 6-year-old Grand Theft Auto 5, don't come complaining that the game is too violent.
And they wonder why they scream and holler when not playing that game. Like, I want to play the game. Rah, rah, rah. Fuck you, nigger. Rah, rah, rah. I got that for many months with my friend's friend at the time. Let's call him Lego Boss. That kid had a mouth back then. He was like 12, 11 when I first game with him through the Halo and stuff. Because my other friend, who was the friend's friend, he's like 19 at the time, not 20 years old. But this kid he was with, he was like 11, 12 years old. So it's like, kind of like, dealing with an actual child of your own. I don't know why we're playing with the kid, because I'm like, okay, this is not meant for the kid, and his mother here, the shit in the background,
Right. All right. Well, time to move on.
Yes, I'm sorry, guys. It's just the fact that eventually the games are getting worse and worse, and the quality gets in the way. So but yeah, let's move on.
All right. We got more information about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 trailer previews Darkwater campaign mission. The first look at a campaign level came during Summer Game Fest Live. Infinity Ward and Activision premiered the first campaign gameplay for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 during Summer Game Fest Live. It came one day after the first official trailer was released, with Task Force 141 once again called upon to save the world. Call of Duty GM Joanna Ferries was live at the event to show gameplay of Modern Warfare 2's Dark Water nighttime mission, where Task Force 141 must intercept controls for an enemy's missile launch. Task Force 141's Ghost, Soap, and Vargas work to infiltrate the enemy vessel and attempt to stop the missile launch. Activision showed us an early preview of the mission during a presentation held by Infinity Ward ahead of Modern Warfare 2's June 8 reveal. On the surface, Dark Water looks like a typical Call of Duty mission, but the level features a section with the ship in motion and shifting cover to add a little variations to the combat in Modern Warfare 2's campaign. According to Infinity Ward, Dark Water is just one of Modern Warfare 2's missions meant to showcase the studio's plan to bring a fresh take or add new elements to some of Call of Duty's most popular level types. In addition to Dark Water, we were shown a few other campaign missions where we learned about some of the new movement mechanics and AI advancements coming to Call of Duty. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is the sequel to 2019's Call of Duty Modern Warfare, a reboot of the original Modern Warfare trilogy that shares many characters but is not set in the same continuity. Infinity Ward art director Joel S. Emsley has previously called it the studio's magnum opus, which is quite confident considering the acclaim the original Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 received. We'll know for sure when Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 launches on October 28th across systems. Call of Duty Warzone sequel will be coming out at a later date as well. So what do you think of this Dark Water campaign mission that we heard of?
Unfortunately, I don't know anything about this particular campaign. I was more or less watching a teaser trailer of Modern Warfare 2 the other day or two, and that's about it. So I can't say much.
All right. Well, from what it sounds like, it sounds like it's going to be a mission on a boat where that like the shifting of the ship, like as the ship goes over a wave or something, that could knock you out of cover. So you'll have more effects than just fighting the soldiers on the ship.
Right.
That sounds interesting. Again, we really don't know what else will be in there. Like I said, it sounds interesting, but we really won't know until it comes out in October, at the end of October.
Oh yeah.
So just hold on before we continue. Just looking for the next article. Because I found it. All right. So next, ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. Next, Humankind coming to consoles and Xbox Game Pass in November. Announced during Summer Game Fest, Humankind is making its way to consoles on November 4th. Announced during Summer Game Fest, Humankind is making its way to console and Xbox Game Pass on the 4th. The strategy game sees players take on the role of different civilizations throughout history and lets them create their own story. The console release of Humankind comes in after the standard edition of Heritage Edition. The standard edition comes with just the game, while the Heritage version also comes with the Cultures of Latin America pack, the Cultures of Africa pack, and the Notre Dame pack. Humankind is also adding 6 new cultures, all from Latin America. The new cultures are Carolines, Nazca, Taino, Inca, Argentinians, and Cubans, which are available for purchase now for the PC version. Humankind is coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series on November 4th. It will also be included as part of Game Pass for console and is already on PC. Is Humankind a game that would interest you?
I never got a chance to watch the trailer of that particular game, but it sounds interesting to play as well. I'm sure. Is it in regards to space exploration, or is just your typical shooter, or what?
No, it sounds like a game where you build your own civilization.
Oh, so it's like Civilization the game.
Yeah, like a civilization game, Tropico game, stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a big fan of those type of games. I did play Civilization 5 sometime earlier this year, late last year. Last time I checked, I had that game for years. I had Civilization 3, 4, and 5 under my collection. So, also, especially the Civilization 5 is on my Steam account. So, I bought it separately as a game itself, and then I downloaded it. So it was all right to play for the first couple of hours. After that, it's like it's like basically like taking a break from shooter games, and it's has good music, you know, background music and stuff. So it's not as calm and it's quiet. Sometimes it's a little bit interesting what they show me in the game and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like these games myself. I'm a big fan of I was a big fan growing up of SimCity. I still play Tropico, although I haven't played it recently. So I'm a big fan of these games where you get to build your own civilization, and I'll definitely be checking out since it'll be on Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next. Okay, that we already talked about that. Warhammer 40,000. Darktide releasing September 13th on Xbox Game Pass. A new trailer for Darktide showed the brutal combat that Vermintide is known for. A new trailer for Warhammer 40,000 Darktide shown at Summer Game Fest Live revealed the release date in an appropriately brutal fashion. The follow-up to Vermintide will release on PC and Xbox consoles on September 13th, 2022. The trailer also revealed it will be available on Xbox Game Pass. The trailer showed some cinematic moments to set the stage, and then got into the action that made Vermintide such a brutal treat, as you got to watch as the Warhammer Marines mow down scant of enemies. After heretics sabotaged Tetrium's power supply, the four grizzled vets were sent in to correct the issue in bloody fashion. Darktide is coming from Fat Shark, the studio behind Vermintide 2. As part of today's reveal, Fat Shark also announced that Darktide will launch with NVIDIA DLSS ray tracing and NVIDIA reflex support. Warhammer 40k Darktide will come as a standard edition for $40 with an Ataman star weapon, cosmetic trinket, and Imperium portrait frame, and an Imperial edition costing $60 that includes 4 unique class outfits, 8 weapon skins, 2,500 premium currency, and other cosmetic items. Pre-orders are now available on Steam and Xbox. My question to you is, have you ever played a Warhammer 40,000 game?
I played Space Marine many years ago for the Xbox 360. It was alright to play.
Okay, you did.
Yeah, and I also currently own both Vermintide and Vermintide 2, 1 and 2. So it's I unfortunately didn't play the Vermintide games yet, unfortunately, and heard good reviews of these games, Space Marine especially. And Space Marine, it may not be it was a demo most like I played back on the 360. So I downloaded it and played it by myself, and it was alright to play every now and then. Other than that, I stuck with other games for the 360 at the time before Xbox One came around. I think it's called, what was that game called after? It's called something called Ozark or something of that sort. It's a game where you explore this area and you got to collect all these materials for your car. You can drive your car throughout the entire map and all. It's a lot of work to get these things called progressing. And I met guys who stuck in that game for hours, if not days, of playing this game. So these are good experiences that I like about Warhammer. Like, after 40 years of it being out of its franchise, it's a good idea to keep that tie going.
Yeah, I played hours of Warhammer 40,000 Space Marines. I kind of gave up. I think I got stuck on a boss. Like, I tried playing it on stream, and I just couldn't see the game that well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the last time I played it. I think I have Vermintide on my Xbox One. I just don't think I've actually gotten around to playing Vermintide yet, because Space Marines kind of turned me off because I was like so many hours into it. And all of a sudden, I couldn't tell A, what I was supposed to do. Second, I couldn't even see what I was supposed to do. So, and this was like deep into the game. This wasn't just an hour in or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's on Game Pass, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. Why not? Because it's Warhammer was still a fun experience. I just wish I didn't have the bad experience I had with Space Marine. But yeah, I mean, this will be on Game Pass, so we'll be able to try it out even if we don't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Ready to move on.
All right, hold on. I gotta get a water.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
Let us deep.
Excuse me, guys. Sorry for the constant breaks.
Okay, I'm back.
All right.
So ready to move on because we got a lot of Resident Evil news to get through.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Resident Evil Village will let you play as the big vampire lady herself later this year. Lady Dimitrescu was only a small part of Capcom's long-awaited Resident Evil Village updates. Let me make sure people can see this on OBS. Yep. With not E3 season in full swing, Capcom took time to highlight its upcoming slate of games and updates during a special broadcast this afternoon. This happened this past Monday. Resident Evil naturally played a big part in the show, which included info on a variety of upcoming downloadable content for Resident Evil Village and some very early footage of the Resident Evil 4 remake. Resident Evil Village may have ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, but Capcom plans to resolve those loose strings with a new chapter following protagonist Ethan Winters' now teenage daughter. Playable episode Shadow of Rose follows the eponymous heroine as she enters the consciousness of the Megamycete, the mold-like superorganism that gave the antagonist of the previous two Resident Evil games the horrifying powers to look for a way to cure herself of the same affliction. Shadow of Rose will be played from the over-the-shoulder perspective most recently seen in Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, and a similar third-person option will also be added to the main Village storyline, for folks who don't go in for all the first-person stuff. The score attack style Mercenaries mode is also getting a sizable update that will include playable versions of Resident Evil vet Chris Redfield and Village baddies Carl Heisenberg and Lady Dimitrescu. Capcom's brief preview teased that the two villains have unique weaponry at their disposal that goes beyond the litany of firearms usually seen in Mercenaries, including the ability to command Heisenberg's minions and to body slam foes as Lady Dimitrescu. All these updates will be collected separately as the Winters expansion, as well as bundled with the original game in Resident Evil Village Gold Edition, both of which come out October 28th, same day as Call of Duty. Capcom also shared a little bit of gameplay from the reimagined Resident Evil 4. It's just a few clips of Leon Kennedy in a Spanish village, but the game is looking amazing so far. Oh, and the woman in the red coat from the reveal is Ashley Graham, the presidential daughter whom Leon spends the whole game trying to rescue, not Ada Wong as I previously guessed. While not super compelling, that little tidbit does mean Ada's iconic red dress may still appear in the remake when it hits shelves on March 24, 2023. And finally, the Resident Evil 2 remake, the Resident Evil 3 remake, and Resident Evil 7 are coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, complete with updated visuals and 3D audio. If you already purchased them on your older consoles, you should have free upgrades waiting for you. It's a good time to be a Resident Evil fan. So, what do you think of getting to play as the antagonist from Resident Evil Village?
Who's the antagonist of it? You talking about that big tall lady? So is that the main antagonist? What's her name? Dimitrescu, whatever her name is.
Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu, okay. That's interesting to play her. She's a very tall woman. I'll be surprised on how to control her that way.
Okay, that went a little...
On a serious note, Um, I've never played Resident Evil Village. It looks good. I saw the trailers and saw gameplay of it little by little. And now you say it's on the internet browser. How you do that exactly? How you play it on the internet browser?
That I don't have the information on.
Because if you ever played like on Steam or whatever through the client, that would be great instead of downloading the demo, right? So.
Yes. I just don't have that information, unfortunately, so I can't comment on that.
If I have to play on the PC, I would rather play the demo of Resident Evil 8 Village. So, but I'd rather play on the Xbox One because I have a better constant experience. Because my computer, even though it's a new computer, it's a refurbished computer, and it has has its own problems of its processing certain games. So it's kind of hard to have the full immersion. So, yeah, it's like. I hate PC games after a while because now it's like, for how many years now you had to keep upgrading. No matter how much you try to upgrade with as little money as you have, it's always a problem to get that decent capture card, to get that decent video card, audio card especially, connections, that type of stuff. So, but eventually I will get another computer one day and just call it quits. Get a beefy computer if I ever have like a couple of grand,
Yeah, this is going to be, this is actually pretty interesting that you get to play as Lady Dimitrescu, you get to play as enemy. Also, not to mention the fact that you're going to be able to, also that Mercenaries mode is getting an update.
Okay.
So if you were a big fan of Resident Evil Village, there's a lot more coming that we weren't, there's a lot more coming that we'll be able to try out.
Oh yeah.
Again, sometimes I find things and then I can't pull them up for whatever reason. Some information like I find during the course while researching for this podcast, I have the whole list of articles in the order I found them, and then I just can't find the article, even though I know I saved it either in my favorite places or on my PC itself. So there was something about being able to play it in your browser, but I don't know anything about that because now that article, I can't even find it.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to move on?
Yeah, sure.
Because there's more coming up about Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil Village DLC Shadows of Rose coming on 28th. The DLC will, actually, we talked about this. The DLC expansion will follow Rose, the daughter of Ethan Winters. In contrast, the core game, it will take place from a third-person viewpoint. As teased by the game post-credit scene, Rose is now a teenager and is assisting Chris Redfield in some regard. Given that we got teased that Ethan is still alive at the end of the game, we can assume he'll factor into the story somehow. Well, depending on this situation you pick in Resident Evil 7, I think also your girlfriend or wife is still alive also. Perhaps most interestingly, the DLC will take place in third person, making the first time a new mainline Resident Evil game has used the perspective since Resident Evil 6. DLC is coming out on the 28th. It's kind of what we already talked about. You played a little bit of Resident Evil 7, did you not?
I played a sample gameplay of it on one of my channels, yeah.
Okay, so what it sounds like, the DLC for Resident Evil 8 is going to be the daughter of the person you played as in Resident Evil 7.
Interesting.
And what do you think about being able to play this game in third person?
It'll be like back during the times of Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, that's for certain.
Yeah, so
especially if it's behind the person. If they want to bring back that third person mode like in the first 3 Resident Evils for the PS1, I wholeheartedly understand that. But if they want to bring those Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 fan base back into the Resident Evil franchise again, they'll probably do that behind the person third person shooter.
Okay, yeah, so Yeah, so this DLC, it's a new story. It's a new storyline. Somehow Chris Redfield's going to be in it, and we'll know more at the end of October.
Yeah, Chris keeps changing every Resident Evil. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I did notice that. I mean, he was completely different from how he was in 5 and 6.
Yeah, the fifth Resident Evil, he looked jacked up and shit. Then Resident Evil 6, they toned him down a bit. Then Resident Evil Village, to make him look like a badass and killing him, Ethan's wife and all, so.
Yeah. The next Resident Evil article I had is just more about being able to play the game in third person. Since I don't want to hammer the same point home, we already talked about it coming out in third person.
Right.
So we're just going to move ahead to that.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next. 3 horror games to keep an eye on. Guerrilla Collective Summer Game Fest adjacent live stream revealed a slew of new and upcoming indie games. But among the braid-like puzzle platformers and narrative adventures were several horror games worth keeping an eye on. Here's what stood out to us. The Fridge is Red. Easily the highlight of today's stream, The Fridge is Red looks like what you might find if you went video game shopping in hell. Heavily inspired by PlayStation 1 horror games, specifically Silent Hill, it tells the story of Frank, stuck in the basement staring for days at the titular red fridge. Not only the fear of a terrible death keeps him in place, but also the hope of getting his daughter back, the game's Steam page reads. The Fridge is Red is a collection of different horror stories or episodes. In the trailer, we see terrifying waiting rooms, people frozen in place, items frozen in midair, church congregations full of glowing-eyed patrons, and an elevator ostensibly sending us to the bowels of the underworld. At one point, in what's undoubtedly the trailer's most gruesome moment, an eye is gouged out with an elevator button. The game's low-poly aesthetic makes The Fridge is Red more unnerving. Because of the lack of detail, the brain fills in the blanks. What's rendered on screen is nothing compared to what's in our minds. While there's no release date yet, you can play The Fridge is Red now if you choose. A free demo is available on Steam. Next, Signalis. Maintaining that PS1 inspiration, Signalis also leans on low-poly aesthetics for its scares. Taking cue from Capcom's stable of horror games in the mid to late 90s, such as Resident Evil and Dino Crisis, and Squaresoft's Parasite Eve, you play as Elster, a technician replica searching for her lost partner and her lost dreams. Signalis is set in the future where humans have discovered some mysterious dark secret. I'd assume it's our job to get to the bottom of whatever that secret is, with all the monsters and jump scares that come along for the ride. The Signalis trailer has arrived. Sure, it looks creepy and all that jazz, but my biggest takeaway is how melancholy it seems, which immediately sells the horror that much better. Signalis does not look like a fun world to be in, both in terms of its horrors and sadness. The big news today is Signalis' release date, October 27th. Industria. Finally, something you can play right now. While Industria may not look as scary as the previous 2 games, it sure looks interesting. Like a cross between Half-Life 2 and Dishonored, Industria is a steampunk game set in East Berlin during a parallel universe Cold War. The trailer shows our protagonist fighting a variety of creepy robots on her quest to find a missing colleague while exploring evocative and strange environments. Industria's trailer ended surprise. It's available now for PC, Xbox Series, and PS5 only. Do any of these 3 games interest you?
To be honest with you, I still try to stick with I know Resident Evil is like one of the considered to be a horror game franchise, but for the past several Resident Evils now, it's not as scary. So I used to say that
we're not talking about Resident Evil anymore.
I know. Let me finish what I'm trying to say though, in connection to what I'm trying to say. I mean, I usually play games that are FPS, first-person shooters. So I know I'm all over the place now, but it seems that these games I'm listening in on, I have to see the trailers. I have to see the gameplay. It seems interesting what they put in. incorporating these elements of from Resident Evil from the 1990s and Dino Crisis and all. I own a copy of Dino Crisis 2. I don't know. I mean, I can't really put my finger on it, but I like to stick with the ones that I love, like Resident Evil as one example, and Catherine. Catherine from the PS3 and Xbox 360 time, and because Catherine is for adults, and especially as for us adults. Like if you do want to have your thoughts being memorized and they can have like cognitive abilities being put to the test, Catherine is the best way. So if the horror games can do something similar like that of these 3 horror games as you mentioned, I think I will consider playing these games.
All right. We're not going to be able. Me and Dr. Games 101 won't be able to play in Signalus because that's next gen or current gen only. But the Fridge is Red. The other 2 games, the Fridge is Red and the other one, they do sound pretty interesting. They also sound like they have mysteries put to them. Like you're gonna be uncovering some mystery, and while you're uncovering the mystery, that's when the horror is gonna come in.
Mm-hmm.
So these are not games that are gonna blow your socks off graphics wise. If you're expecting that, then these games are not gonna do it. I guess as we find out more about these games, because the ones that we will be able to try out aren't out yet. As we find out more about these games, and as they do eventually come out, we'll be able to talk about them more. But they do. That's one thing I noticed. It's more of a mystery, but there's going to be jump scares and horror mixed in with that mystery that you're trying to uncover.
Yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. Whenever there's a games presentation, we have tons of news to go over. Riot Games announces big Xbox Game Pass partnership. Early in today's Xbox Game Showcase, Riot Games president Mark Merrill took a few minutes to announce a big new partnership with Xbox and its Game Pass program. A number of Riot's biggest experiences are coming to Xbox Game Pass on mobile and PC, with relatively robust options unlocked for players to enjoy. First, Riot's flagship property, League of Legends, will see all champions unlocked on PC. In League of Legends Wild Rift, it's a similar picture with all champions unlocked on mobile gaming platforms. In Legends of Runeterra, Game Pass players can expect to have the full Foundation set of cards unlocked. For those not in the know, as the name implies, that's the foundational cards for the game, establishing the base mechanics. The card set will be available on both PC and mobile. In Teamfight Tactics, players can select Little Legends to be unlocked, whether you play on PC or mobile. And in Valorant, all agents will be unlocked on PC. It's a notable team-up that should give a boost to both Xbox and Riot. On the Riot side, the availability of so many characters and sets across the spectrum of their games means that a potentially huge audience of Xbox players could have a chance to experience a broad spectrum of what each of those games have to offer. To Xbox's benefit, it offers a meaningful boost to the already potent draw of Xbox Game Pass as a service and experience, since players can gain access to a number of aspects of each of those Riot games without needing to pay additional costs. While Riot's expansion into Game Pass is big news, it's worth noting that it won't have much effect for players on Xbox consoles, as all the available options are coming to specific combination of PC and mobile depending on titles. The availability of all these options is said to be coming this winter for Game Pass subscribers. So while Riot Games isn't doing anything for console players, their partnership with Game Pass, that doesn't mean games from Riot Games won't be on Game Pass in the future. What do you think of this team up, Riot Games focusing basically on the PC and mobile versions of Game Pass?
Well, I personally will probably be of good suitable for the Game Pass comes to the PC, because it depends on what game it is. I can't really play very well and good performance of the game. So let's say, for example, want to increase the shadow aspects and the render and all that stuff. I can't do that with my PC, even though it's a new PC. So I can only afford what I can afford for the PC. However, though, for the console, they can do whatever what they can do for that console at a great extent. I'm recording right now. Hold on a second, Debbie. Sorry about that, guys. So, what was I saying? I was saying basically, Riot Games. I think I heard of them. They did one game in particular I like. I'm not sure which one though. I forgot. I have to go back to my library, but yeah.
Yeah, actually I'm looking up their catalog now. I don't know. I mean, like League of Legends, obviously everyone's heard of, but I don't see any games that I recognize, which is weird.
I heard of Riot Games playing at times over the years, but not as much. The only thing, like I said, come to mind is League of Legends. So
League of Legends, Valorant.
Yeah, Valorant's a cop out of Overwatch. It's like I don't know what they're doing, but they try to make people buy $100 for a skin in Valorant. It's ridiculous. A dragon skin.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, if you're a big PC gamer or you're even a mobile gamer, maybe this is interesting to you. Unfortunately, nothing for console Game Pass. Nothing for people who enjoy Game Pass through their consoles, at least not yet.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yes.
All right. Next. A Plague Tale Requiem. Pre-orders are available now. A Plague Tale Requiem launches this year on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and Nintendo Switch via the cloud. A Plague Tale Requiem is still slated for 2022, but an exact release date hasn't been announced. The upcoming sequel to the stellar action adventure A Plague Tale Innocence was shown off during the Xbox showcase. If you're excited for the sequel, A Plague Tale Requiem pre-orders are available now. You'll get some in-game goodies for pre-ordering a copy, and there's even a pricey collector's edition up for grabs for diehard fans. Amicia and Hugo are back for a new perilous adventure after escaping capture in the harrowing first game. It takes place in a different region in France and will feature a mix of action and stealth gameplay, just like the original. The sequel's graphics are noticeably more impressive. A Plague Tale Requiem is releasing on Xbox Series, PS5, PC, and Nintendo Switch via cloud streaming. So if you have PS4 or Xbox One, you're not going to be able to try it out, unfortunately. Purchasing the physical version of A Plague Tale Requiem will get you the Protector Pack. This digital bundle includes the Red Damsel crossbow skin, bonus crafting material, and 13 exclusive cosmetics for Amicia. We don't see any retailer-exclusive pre-order bonuses yet, but it's possible they'll pop up when Requiem announces a firm release date. A Plague Tale Requiem is available to pre-order now at major retailers, including Amazon, GameStop, and Best Buy. Digital editions are not available to order yet, but you can wish list it on Steam and view the listing on the Xbox Store. Keep in mind that A Plague Tale Requiem will be available on Game Pass on launch day. So would we be able to... Plague Tale Requiem Standard Edition is $60 regardless of which platform you choose. Mike, there's the Collector's Edition for $190.
God damn. I said 125, 190, almost $200. What, you get a fucking doll size Hugo or whatever? I mean, come on.
Well, here's what's available in the Collector's Edition. The Collector's Edition comes with the base game, pre-order bonuses, and the following physical items. Exclusive box cover for PS5 and Xbox Series. Resin statue of Amicia and Hugo. A Hugo's feather brooch. 45 RPM vinyl records. There'll be it'll be a double-sided record, one song on each side, and 3 lithographs.
Now I see why it's worth 190.
So, and I'll read what's down here. The siblings are attempting to start a new life after fleeing their home and have settled into a new routine and land far away from their past. Things don't stay quiet for long, however, as Hugo's supernatural abilities quickly bring deadly challenges to their new life. The action-adventure game has seen a few previews ahead of its launch, showing off incredible graphics and a dark fantasy world that's teaming teeming with places to explore and deadly enemies to overcome. Much of its story remains under wraps, but what's been shown off so far is more than enough to pick the interest of fans. So, my question to you, I don't understand this. If it's only coming out for PS5, Xbox Series, but it's coming out on Game Pass, would we still be able to play it or no?
I don't think so. But it's still, they just said it's part of Game Pass, so I'm sure they're going to do something for the Xbox One system, especially for the Xbox One. In my perspective,
we might not get anything physical, but it might be at least available digitally somehow.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, I'm a big fan of Plague Tale Innocence. Anyone who hasn't played it for Xbox One, go out and play it. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I played a sample gameplay of it earlier today, just for the sake of this podcast, and I was like, wow, this is a good stealth game. Like, it's very intense at times.
Yeah, so
Hugo and Misha really have went through a lot of crap to go through in order to succeed in life and stuff. So
yeah, so if you haven't played the first game of Plague Tale Innocence, definitely get it. But and honestly, I would honestly be upset if I had to miss out on the sequel, because I was a big fan of the first one, and I'm mostly like a supporter of this franchise because I just love what I played of the first game, and I wanted to see. I never thought that a second game would be possible. I thought the story was one and done.
Yes, I heard of that too.
So, hopefully we will be able to try it on Game Pass, even if it's only available digitally.
And I see you played the first Plague Tale, my friend, earlier last year or two. It looked good. You got further into the game. I played the first 45 minutes personally myself earlier today, so got a lot more to do. So
yeah, but I played it all the way through, and believe me, and I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Right. It's gruesome. It's violent.
You have no idea.
Those rats, especially those rats. I can't imagine seeing those rats later on.
Yeah, those rats are gonna play a big part in the game.
Yeah. I'm ready.
All right. Next, Amazon buy two get one free game sale includes some of the biggest hits of 2022. Elden Ring, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and plenty more great games are buy two get one free at Amazon. Amazon is hosting a buy two get one free sale right now, and it's one of the best promotions we've seen in a while. Like usual, this buy two get one free sale is a mix and match offer, which means that you can pick up video games, Blu-rays, toys, books, and more. But the games section of the sale in particular is quite impressive. A number of the biggest games of the year so far are up for grabs, including Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Elden Ring, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, and Nintendo Switch Sports. If you're familiar with Amazon's buy two get one free sales, you probably already suspect that this sale is in response to a similar promotion at Target. Amazon loves to kick off its own sale right after Target launches a buy two get one free sale. While there is some overlap in the sales, make sure to check out Target's sale if you're looking for something specific that you can't find at Amazon. Nintendo Switch owners have a fair number of console exclusives to choose from, in addition to Kirby and Switch Sports Triangle Strategy, which also released earlier this year. Features gorgeous HD 2D visuals and a compelling mix of tactical combat and intriguing characters drama. Bravely Default 2 is a traditional turn-based RPG that released last year as definitely worth checking out. Meanwhile, you can pick up a pair of farming and life simulation titles in Rune Factory 5 and Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town. PlayStation and Xbox owners also have tons to choose from in the promotion, including 2022 titles such as Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and WWE 2K22. PlayStation users can grab console exclusives including Sifu and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Xbox users can pick up Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5. As always with these promotions, simply add 3 items to your cart, and the cheapest of the 3 will be discounted to free. We put together a list of some of the standouts in the buy 2 get 1 free sale below. Make sure to check Amazon for the full slates of games. So I'm just going to read them. Assassin's Creed: The Ezio Collection for $30. Assassin's Creed Valhalla for $20. Biomutant for $20. Bravely Default 2 for $50. Crash 4: It's About Time for $40. Elden Ring for $48. Forza Horizon 5 for $43.34. What's with these weird ending numbers? Game Builder Garage for $30. God of War for $15.79. Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy for $47. Hades for $30. Halo Infinite for $25. Hitman 3 for $20. Kirby and the Forgotten Land for $55. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga for $45. Marvel's Avengers for $20. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy for $30. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales for $50. Nintendo Switch Sports for $48. No More Heroes 3 for $60. Ori the Collection for $43.49. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl Double Pack for $100. Red Dead Redemption 2 for $30. Riders Republic for $25. Room Factory 5 for $60. Sifu for $50. Story of Seasons Pioneers of Olive Town for $30. Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin for $45. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands for $45. Triangle Strategy for $53. And WWE 2K22 for $52. Do any of these games interest you?
I mean, they do the game itself, but why the price is so sporadic? Why is it
I don't know. I mean, I guess they wanted to focus on the sale somehow, but like I said, 52, 53, 43, 49, I don't know why these...
They're too expensive, man. These from like earlier last year. And if ever, it should be under like $40 on most of these games. But they're not.
Yes, so, I mean, it's you're still going to need a lot of money you're still going to need a lot of money if you want to focus on this sale. That's the weird thing.
And it's on Amazon's website, right?
Yes, but keep in mind, if you got Game Pass like us, there are not a lot, but there are a few games I recognize that you can play on Game Pass that are in the sale. So it's
Go on.
All I'm saying is looking for next article, but whatever. What I'm saying is, since there's a couple games on Game Pass. Yes, Game Pass. This game could leave the service, but a lot of these prices are really expensive. Like, I don't count $52 or $53 from a $60 game really that much of a discount.
Yeah, unless they try to make people buy more or give them a trickery in the sales, meaning that, this game sounds cheaper than the other game, I want to buy the cheaper game. And that cheaper game could be like Tiny Tina's Wonderland for about, what's it called, $30? So they're trying to make sure people still buy something from their sales, even though it seems sporadic in sales.
I had a Fallout article about Fallout 5, but I can't find it, so just bear with me for a minute.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, though, Amazon is in competition with Sony and Microsoft, so if they really want to outbeat the competition, go for deeper discounts. It'll be a big difference in their sales.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely focus, capitalize on these sales while you can. So So just give me a minute while I'm looking for the next article, because I like to have the next 2 or 3 up on deck before I continue.
Sure.
Oh, okay. This is the one I was looking for. Found it. So, we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Next. GTA Online. Is the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack worth it? Newcomers to GTA Online might be tempted by the Starter Pack, but is it worth it? GTA Online is still vastly popular in 2022 and attracts new players every single day. Whether it's because the allure of Los Santos is still as potent as it was in 2013, or the new current generation upgrades, newcomers have been flocking to the online world as of late. One of the biggest questions that most players have when first starting up a new character, aside from the obvious ones, is whether or not the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack is worth it. This Starter Pack comes up with up to $10 million worth of property and other items, but this is only if players were to buy everything included separately. Some of the items you will receive in the pack won't even be used, and you can't trade them in either. As such, it's worth wondering whether the starter pack is actually worth it to jumpstart your career in GTA Online. While Rockstar Games claims the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack is the fastest way to begin your career of criminality in the online world, that very well could be simple marketing fodder. We'll keep reading below to see what's in this Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack. We'll begin by listing all the property that's available when you buy the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack. All this will become unlocked in-game whenever you purchase the pack. If you're buying it included with an edition of GTA Online, that will be available as soon as you start a new character. Instructions on how to claim the pack's contents will show up on screen whenever you launch GTA Online after the installation of the pack. Here's the properties you get. Maze Bank West Executive Office, Paleo Forest Gunrunning Bunker, Sonora Desert Counterfeit Cash Factory, Great Chapel Biker Clubhouse, 1561 San Vita Street Apartment, 1337 Exceptionalist Way. You get 10 car garage vehicles. A Dune FAV, a Maibatsu Frogger, Enos Windsor, Obi Omnis, Coquette Classic, Turismo R, Pegasi Vortex, Holly S, and a Western Zombie Chopper. Banshee Weapons, Clothing, and Tattoos, you get a compact grenade launcher, marksman rifle, a compact rifle, stunt race and export outfits, biker tattoos. And you get $1 million in GTA cash. All in all, there are close to 2 dozen pieces of property and other items that come with the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack. The items are meant to give brand new players a way to skip out of the grind that accompanies the start of GTA Online. Giving players vehicles, weapons, properties, and straight cash allows them to get started with the more enjoyable aspects of the online game rather than spending time saving up cash to buy similar items that come in the pack. This all sounds good and well, but are the items you're getting actually worth it? The worth of this pack ultimately comes down to each individual player. While that's a cookie-cutter answer, it's true for this pack in particular. As of right now, the starter pack can be bought separately on Xbox Live and Steam for $10. There are also editions of GTA 5 and Online you can purchase for around $15 that includes the starter pack. At that price point, it's hard to say that the starter pack isn't worth it for a new player. For $10, you're receiving $1 million in GTA money, a plethora of vehicles, a dozen properties, and starter weapons and clothes. If we want to dig a little deeper, though, we will see that not all of the content in the pack is going to be useful. Kicking things off are the useful bits of content. This begins with the Maze Bank West Executive Office. Having this by itself might make the starter pack worth the money, as this gives you access to a CEO's office right out of the gate. This office can save hours of grinding and saving money in GTA Online. You're given the ability to run special cargo jobs within the first hour of playing, as well as a place to customize and make your own. The West Executive Office is usually worth around $1 million, but it can pay for itself in a matter of hours if players run it correctly. Also included in the properties is the Great Chapel Bike Clubhouse, which is a solid spot for newcomers to store their bikes. There's also the Counterfeit Cash Factory, which will need to be upgraded slightly in order to make it profitable, but it offers players a way to earn extra money without having to buy it or set it up themselves. That's all a new player could ask for in GTA Online. Rounding out the properties list is the low-end apartment, which will be outgrown in a day or two, and the 10-car garage on Exceptionalist Way. Both these properties are useful for a new player, but can be easily replaced if you desire. The only piece of property that's not usable whatsoever is the Paleto Bunker. This is the farthest bunker from Los Santos, meaning when you are bunk running, you'll be making long trips to the city where your big money jobs are located. You can use the bunker to start with, but buying another bunker, one close to the city, is going to be your best in the long run. Moving on to the vehicles included in the starter pack, we'll start off with the most expensive ones. Coming in at $1.3 million is the Malibu Frogger and BF Dune FAV. The Frogger isn't a horrible beginner helicopter, but you can find better options all around the Los Santos marketplace. The Buzzard is one that you should be interested in upgrading to, as they only cost $400,000 more and possesses all-around better performance. As for the BF Dune FAV, which also costs $1.3 million, you might never even take it out of the garage. It's a lackluster vehicle that comes with 3 weapons, no defensive capabilities, and a slow speed acceleration. As we go down the list, there are a few more vehicles that you might use early in GTA Online. The Obey Omnis, Guardi Turismo R, and the Coquette Classic are all average vehicles that can serve as great starter options until you're ready to upgrade. However, there are also vehicles you won't necessarily use unless you truly want to. The Enos Windsor and Huntley S are 2 that don't have much value, while the Pegassi Vortex is more of a visual stunner than anything else. Finally, you also receive the Marksman Rifle, Grenade Launcher, and Compact Rifle in the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack. These are cheap but serviceable weapons that will perform at an average level until you want to buy stronger weaponry. While there is certainly a share of duds among the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack for its current asking price of $10, we would say it's worth it overall. You will gain a huge advantage over other new players with the Executive Office, 10-car garage, and other smaller businesses to run. Also, having a fleet of vehicles, $1 million in Grand Theft Auto currency, and a few weapons will immediately make you a middle-of-the-road criminal in GTA Online. Does this pack sound like it's worth it to you?
Of course not. After all what you said, I don't really care too much about the pack itself. I will admit this, though. I don't play GTA Online, and I haven't played GTA Online in about how many years almost. I played the story mode sometime last year. I'm stuck where I have to get the last heist going, so I have to get the equipment and certain other entities for the man in order to start the heist. But right now I'm kind of confused on what to do with the Strangers and Geeks mode missions and things of that matter. Because I don't see the FIB on my map. Other than that, on my own personal experience with GTA 5. GTA Online, I mean, it's like a whatever. I mean, I still have my level 10 character, so, haven't played that in a while, so I can't say much about it. It's alright to play with others, but by yourself or in a stranger's atmosphere of other strangers, it's like, I don't know. It's okay to play to have a good time and all with other strangers, but, I won't say it doesn't get stale. It's just that you've seen it before, you played the previous GTA games, and you just want to move on. So that's what's going on with me.
All right, yeah, I don't try GTA Online because I feel like it's too late to start.
Oh, it's still going on for another 10 more years, I heard. So,
Well, also you've told me that there's a good chance it'll be shut down in 2025 for PS4 and Xbox One users.
Oh, I didn't say that. I said that the Xbox One specifically will stop updating itself. That's what I said.
Oh, it'll stop updating itself.
Yeah, like whatever those updates we get every few hours, a few days, depending upon if you have wireless or wired connection, always online and stuff. That's what they do with your Xbox One. And that's what the Xbox One system itself. They'll still have the live services, the Xbox Live and all. Obviously, PS4 and Xbox One specifically, they'll be around for a while longer. I'm not sure about the 360, but definitely Xbox One's got another few more years. So you got time. If not, you always upgrade to the.
GTA.
If not, you always upgrade to the PS5 or Xbox Series S and X and take it from there.
Yeah, once I got the money.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I'm at Grand Theft Auto. If you've been not avoiding, but if you're late to the party with GTA Online, maybe the starter pack will give you the edge you need to make up for lost time. But it's like the article said, it's up to you. Some things you'll use, some things you won't.
Oh yeah.
Some things are going to be really useful, some things won't. So it's going to be up to you. I do have a list from Kotaku. Microsoft claims 50 games are coming out over the next year, in 2022 and 2023. Are we done with GTA 5 Online, by the way?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to read the games. A lot of them that we heard of, we've already talked about in detail. Anyway, this is the list for the games planned to be released in 2022. Some of them will be on Game Pass. Some of them won't. If it's expected to be on Game Pass from this list, then I'll point it out which ones are, which ones aren't. Naraka Blade Point will be on Game Pass. The Elder Scrolls, these are all games coming out in 2022, by the way. The Elder Scrolls Online High Isle, As Dusk Falls will be on Game Pass. Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels, Somerville will be on Game Pass. Plague Tale Requiem will be on Game Pass. Valheim will be on Game Pass. Warhammer 40k Darktide will be on Game Pass. Grounded will be on Game Pass. Fallout 76 The Pit will be on Game Pass. Overwatch 2. High on Life will be on Game Pass. Scorn will be on Game Pass. Atomic Heart will be on Game Pass. Gotham Knights. Gunfire Reborn will be on Game Pass. Persona 5 Royale will be on Game Pass. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Pentiment will be on Game Pass. Halo Infinite Season 3 will be on Game Pass. Microsoft Flight Simulator 40th Anniversary Edition will be on Game Pass. Hogwarts Legacy. Party Animals will be on Game Pass. Slime Rancher 2 will be on Game Pass. The Callisto Protocol, Hello Neighbor 2, and Lightyear Frontier. These are the games expected to come out for Xbox in 2023. Diablo 4, Redfall will be on Game Pass. Starfield will be on Game Pass. Hold on. Looks like all of these are, most of them. Forza Motorsport will be on Game Pass. Minecraft Legends will be on Game Pass. Our History Untold will be on Game Pass. Wu Long Fallen Dynasty will be on Game Pass. So will Stalker 2, Flintlock, Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, League of Legends Wild Rift, Valorant, Teamfight Tactics, Legends of Runeterra, and Arc 2. Resident Evil 4 will not. Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, replaced Erebin, Shadow Legacy, Raven Lock will be. Dead Space will not. The Last Case of Benedict Fox and Cocoon will be. Those are the Xbox releases expected in 2022 and 2023. Do any of the games I named interest you?
Well, I don't know what to say exactly. Hold on a second. We're talking about the 50 games that came out over next year, right?
Yeah.
Well, I seen the picture or a picture of it during the showcase with Phil Spencer talking about the matter. Some of them look like that would be interesting to play. Like, I think they heard that Vampire 2 will come out sometime in 2023, if I recall correctly. I doubt it though. I might be misappropriating myself. I can't remember exactly what game particularly, but it looks like it's a good lineup for the next year or two. So it's Basically it's like a interesting time to be a gamer, especially over a certain age. There's a lot of abundance in games to choose from now. Unlike it once was back during the 1990s, where most of the gamers who are born after a certain decade or two, you're lucky to get like what 5 games per console if you're lucky, and your own family or your own parents, they can only afford but so many games, which is kind of strange. That my mom had a decent amount of money that she got over the years as a working and such. So you figure my mom would give me more games, and she did eventually. Gave me Dreamcast, gave me PS2. But every console has its limits of games because how expensive it wasn't expensive. In a sense, but the game market was still kind of like going through its progress of being popularized by the public. So by the time when Xbox 360 come out, it was a revolutionary thing in gaming with Halo 3 and the apps coming into the play for the X360. So yeah. Other than that,
I mean, a lot of these games, if you tried to buy all these games, you'd have to have a lot of money. At least the majority of them will be on Game Pass, and keep in mind, this is the schedule over the next 2 years, but I think the reason Microsoft is kicking into Overdrive is because they haven't had a release this year, a first-party release this year themselves.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't know about that.
So I think that's why they're kicking into Overdrive for the second half of 2022 and 2023. And like I said, 90% of these games are going to be on Game Pass. So even if you can't afford them all, you'll be at least able to try them and play a majority of them.
Yes, indeed.
Ready to move on?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. We still got a few more stories, actually. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade heads to Steam tomorrow. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is heading to Steam on the 17th, which was a couple days ago. Prior to today's news, the game's only been available on PC via the Epic Games Store. Intergrade is the enhanced version of Final Fantasy VII Remake that features even higher fidelity visuals, shorter load times, a classic mode difficulty, and the intermission story expansion starring Yuffie. Executive Director Yoshinori Kotase also confirmed that the game is Steam Deck compatible. The game is also launching with a limited time discount, beginning on the 17th till the 23rd. The game is also Intergrade will have a 29% discount on Steam. 29% discount. Was 30 too much? So, what do you think about the remake Intergrade heading to Steam tomorrow? Heading to Steam and getting a 29% discount for the next week.
Yes, it costs about now $49 in US dollars where I'm at, and I saw it on Steam, and I'm like, wow, that's nice. I wish I have the specs to play it on the PC, but I'd rather play it on the PlayStation 4 or 5. So, especially PlayStation 5. So.
Yeah. So I mean, we got a lot of news on Final Fantasy VII, the remake also. So. Yeah, but I mean, if you were hoping for this, you'll until June 23rd you can get a 29% discount.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just don't have much to say because I'm the odd guy out that goes, yeah, I'd be more interested in Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah. Well, me personally, I've been focusing on the original game of Final Fantasy VII. I've beaten it so far. In a cheat-wise 2 times already. Other than I played a many times, from start to almost finish. But I really beat the game by using these HP and MP enhancers. That's how I beat the game a couple of times. Now, other than that, it was the experience to explore the world and doing chocobo breeding. The chocobo breeding is a bitch. If you don't have a basic knowledge of where to go for the chocobos and how to breed them and all, or where to find the chocobos or type of chocobos, You be in that game for at least another like 30 to 50 hours extra. So if Final Fantasy VII is supposed to be about what 50 hours of gameplay, maybe 75 hours of gameplay, you probably play up to 200 hours if you're lucky. You know, if you want to have that decent experience of like exploring and literally don't use the strategy guide book, don't use no YouTube, no nothing. Like I did it when I was younger. Now I never really played 200 hours entirely in one spot, one try, but I did play just enough to understand the game, the ins and outs of it to the basic extent. You know, I still got a chance to get Knights in the Round. That's a bitch right there because you need a certain chocobo for to get into the cave. So yeah, I'm going to have to revamp my plan and see how I want to beat this game without cheating.
Well, anyway, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Remake Second Chapter arrives next winter. At long last, the second chapter of Final Fantasy VII Remake was revealed during today's 25th anniversary stream. It's called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It launches next winter or towards the end of 2023 for PlayStation 5. A cinematic trailer provided tantalizing glimpses of what's to come, most notably gameplay of Cloud and Sephiroth exploring a section of the world together. While that may very well be a flashback, those who played Remake know that anything is possible at this point. Today's video also confirmed that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the second entry in what will be a 3-game series. So what do you think about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth being, I guess, part 2 of 3?
Part 2 or 3? Yeah, I heard there's going to be 3 parts of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I did hear about that.
It comes out next winter.
Yeah, man, time flies. I haven't had a chance to get I do have some PS4 games I collected over the years, but other than that, now PS5's in the making, is in effect. So it's like, man, I don't know if we ever get another stimulus check, which I doubt it, because that'll ruin the economy even further. You know, in the long term. You know, if I ever have extra money from other means, I'll definitely will do my best to get the. I'd rather wait until the very end of it all, where it's like all the 3 games will come out, and they'll do like a trilogy pack or something for like a special price. That I would do.
All right. Well, we got more information. Like they said, Final Fantasy Remake is a 3-game series.
Mm-hmm.
Square Enix not only revealed Rebirth, but they also answered a question fans have asked: how many games does this saga consist of? Turns out the answer is 3. Executive producer Yoshinori Kitase confirmed that there's only one untitled game left after Rebirth launches next year. Following a 3-game roadmap is fitting, given that the original Final Fantasy VII consisted of 3 discs on PS1. Kitase, unsurprisingly, did not give a window for when the final game will arrive. So, anything to say about that, or I had my camera on. Anything to say about that, or no?
I will admit this though. I never really played any of the other Final Fantasy VII games. I played Final Fantasy VII Original for the PS1, and I had the Xbox One version. That's all. That's a good upgrade, or to the graphics, whatever they did to it. I will also admit too that when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, there was rumors during that time that there's supposed to be a remake of Final Fantasy VII to begin with. So that was like 15 years ago.
It was on Crisis Core also.
Yeah, we were supposed to have a remake for 15 years in the making, which now back to 2020, we finally had the Final Fantasy VII remake. So that's a good thing. I don't know what to really say exactly, other than the fact that if Square Enix or Microsoft or whoever, whichever these companies are associated with each other, can create a package deal for gamers who missed out when they were younger to buy the Crisis Core, Cerberus, what's the prequel of Final Fantasy VII, or I forget what's it called. Crisis Core is one of them, obviously, but there was another sequel, prequel, if you want to call it like that. So if they could put all those together on the PS5, that would be great. You know, I would definitely be a collector.
That's a huge collection of these games, and some of these games aren't going to be available until like the end of next year, at least.
Yeah, I have 2 copies of Final Fantasy VII Dirge Cerberus, but I haven't got a chance to play it. Yeah, I did that just in case because I know that's a good game. I heard for Final Fantasy VII gamers.
It
So
doesn't like shooters.
yeah, and I will try to play it one day. Not sure when. If I can find it, get copies exactly. You know.
Alright, ready to move on because we got more Final Fantasy news to cover.
Yeah, let's go on ahead.
Alright. Tetsuya Nomura says work has already started on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. Work has already started on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, which will cap off Square Enix's trilogy when it's released sometime after 2023. Nomura confirmed that some development has already begun on the as-yet unnamed third title in a note following today's live stream. Quote, I myself have started the development and am working toward the completion of the series, end quote, Nomura wrote in a two-part message on Twitter. His note followed the first trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which offered a glimpse of the anticipated follow-up to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Square Enix also announced Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, a remake of the PSP spin-off slated to release on PS4, PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC sometime this winter. Nomura directed Final Fantasy VII Remake, but is not helming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. He continues to be involved in the project as a creative director. As for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it'll be out in winter 2023. And whatever the third part ends up being called, we'll just have to wait and see, though Nomura says that development has been progressing rapidly since the team adopted a new development structure. You can find the entire note below. As I've revealed on the broadcast, there are currently 4 Final Fantasy VII projects being developed in parallel. Although each of the 4 titles plays a different role, they are all connected through the high-quality depiction of Final Fantasy VII's world and characters. As someone who's involved with the development of each and every one of the original titles, I deeply understand the vision and thoughts behind each project, and I am actively involved in the development process for all 4 titles. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is being designed so that people can enjoy the game whether they know the original game or not. In fact, new players might even enjoy starting the Final Fantasy VII journey with Rebirth. Cloud and his friends embark on a new journey in this game. I believe the scenes they witness after leaving Midgar will give players a fresh new experience. Whoa, okay. Looked like a big article, but it's not. I can't wait to share the intention behind naming the first title Remake and the second title Rebirth. In time, I hope to reveal what the third title will be called and where the journey will ultimately lead. The development of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has been progressing rapidly since we adopted a new development structure. A title of this scale in which everything is interconnected even before production began is truly rare. In fact, some development has already begun on the third title. I myself have started on development and am working towards the completion of the series. We will work to deliver this title to fans with the same amount of enthusiasm from now until we reach the final line. In the meantime, please enjoy the other 25th anniversary projects that further expand the world of Final Fantasy VII. So, is this news hopeful that Final Fantasy, the third game in the Final Fantasy VII trilogy, is already being worked on?
Yep, I'm very excited that hopefully by no later than 2024, they'll put the 3 parts together as one big game package. Myself for about a collector's edition, physical collection, for about $150, I bet. I wouldn't mind doing that. Now I have to say though, I hear good things. I see progress on just on Final Fantasy VII alone over the decade plus. From the Final Fantasy VII movie, which was called Avid Children. Then there's also the games Dirge Cerebus, Crisis Core, and then another Final Fantasy game I forgot about, the 7th game on. Other than that, I have to say they're consistent. They're doing their best to keep this thing a very relevant Final Fantasy VII sub-series of sorts. So I like it.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, you got a lot. You still have a lot of gameplay to get through.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of gameplay to get through, and it's nowhere near done yet.
Yes, indeed. And hopefully by 2025, the latest, I'll get the PS5 and I'll get the trilogy in a certain package, and it comes with like the soundtrack, or the enhanced soundtrack is called. With Nobuto Uematsu, who created the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack of the Avid Children movie. So, especially with the fight against Tifa versus Laos in that scene, and that was a very good emotional piano playing that he took part in. I'm not sure he's the exact musician for those piano playing, but if he's that talented, having these people together and making all this music over the years up until Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy 12, that's great. It's great to bring it back to make more of these soundtracks as well too.
Yeah. So ready to move on because we got Crisis Core to talk about.
Crisis Core, right? Go on.
Okay. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion polishes up the PSP Classic. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII, the 2007 prequel to Final Fantasy VII, is getting a modern facelift in the form of Reunion. The updated version of the PSP Classic features HD visuals and updated character models. It also includes full voiceover and rearranged soundtrack. If Final Fantasy VII Remake was your first experience with this franchise, and you asked yourself who the heck that black-haired guy was, this is the game you'll want to play. Crisis Core Final Fantasy Reunion launches this winter for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So what do you think of the new Crisis Core remake, basically?
That's interesting too. Put that baby in the package too for 2025. Fuck, man. I haven't.
Yeah, you know how expensive this package would be if all 5 games were a part of it.
Dude, I'm willing to spend the money, especially if by 2025 I can't get a decent job. Then that'll be great right there. I just buy everything up, gobble it all up, and consume it. If it's on PSP, so be it. Put it on at PS5, fuck it, put it all there. I already got Dirge of Cerberus, so I never played. Like I said, never played Crisis Core yet. Definitely never played Dirge of Cerberus yet, but eventually I will if I can find PSP at an affordable price. But if it's going to be a remake of the PS5, that'll be great. So saves you money anyway. So
yeah, so coming out. So like I said, that's a lot of games coming out for a Final Fantasy VII fan.
yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, next. Xbox games with... Hold on. Yeah, let me turn off my face cam so people can see the article. Xbox games with gold for June 2022. 3 free games are up for grabs now. Amen Colony, Rascals, and more are free for Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass Ultimate in the second half of June. These 3 free games are available now on Xbox as part of Games with Gold. Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass Ultimate can now claim Aven Colony, Project High Rise, Architects Edition, and Rascals. In the first half of the month, Super Meat Boy was up for grabs. As usual, freebies include a mix of modern and old games playable on Xbox Series and Xbox One. You still there?
I'm here.
Okay. Aven Colony is a city-building game that asks you to build a home for humans on an alien planet. You can control every aspect of the experience, form infrastructure decisions to the health and well-being of your colonists. Aven Colony has multiple difficulty levels, so you can tailor the experience to your skill set. It's available to claim throughout June. Project High Rise is a different type of management sim than Aven Colony. It's a 2D tower building game that solely revolves around building and managing skyscrapers. Project High Rise is a spiritual successor to the 1994 PC game Sim Tower, The Vertical Empire. You can claim it for free till July 15th. Meanwhile, Rascals is a zany action platformer with cartoon visuals and more than 60 side-scrolling levels. It's free until the end of June. We hope that you claim Super Meat Boy. If you hadn't played it yet, Super Meat Boy is one of the best precision platformers ever made, and the Xbox Live Arcade version that was up for grabs featured the original and better soundtrack as opposed to the one featured in subsequent releases of the game. If you're currently not on Xbox Live Gold or Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, Microsoft is running a deal, a phenomenal deal on Game Pass Ultimate. Now, new and returning subscribers can get their first 3 months for $1. Did any of these games with gold interest you? Project Kai.
I don't see it on the list that you provided for me. Okay.
It's under Xbox Games with Gold for June 22. 3 free games are up for grabs now.
Okay, that's supposed to be from earlier then. All right. To be honest with you, I'm not sure exactly what the games, these particular games. So once I see what's going on further, I will try them out. Maybe.
Did you download Super Meat Boy?
Oh yeah, I already got Super Meat Boy. I played it before. It was all right. It's not my super favorite game, but it can be hooked onto if you're not careful. So, because you keep dying over and over at certain parts of the map or if not the level. So.
Yeah. Like I said, I've kind of lost interest in games with gold just because, I'm really unhappy with the selection for really the year of 2022. I still download them every month, the selections, so it's basic. So it's, I can try them out, but I'm not dying to try these games out.
Indeed, I agree with you.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
All right, we got about 3 or 4 articles left. 4. N64 Pokemon Snap coming to Nintendo Switch Online.
All right.
While there's a new Pokemon Snap for fans to join the Switch, which only came out last year, Nintendo has decided to make the original N64 game available as well. Pokemon Snap is coming for Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack members later this month, with the game due to land on June 24th. If you've never played it, here's an excerpt from an appreciation post we ran back in 2018. Okay, I'll talk about, instead of reading these posts, I'm going to talk about the game was basically where you're like on a train ride and you're snapping pictures of Pokemon.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, I played it before. You're right.
I'm surprised that they made a new one on Switch. That announcement about the new one must have completely went under my radar.
Here.
But why would, of all games, why would they add that one?
Well, it's revolutionary at one point, in my perspective. I played hours upon hours of Pokemon Snap. Hell, I still have a copy of it on my N64.
Okay,
I think I still saved up to my pictures too from like those times. If it's still there, that is on the game. They get to save it on the slot in the game itself. So, other than that, I don't really know anything else about it. It's been so many years I haven't played it. It's got to be at least 15 years I had last time I played Pokemon Snap. So.
Okay, I guess people like it more than I would.
Yeah, it's a very interactive game. Pokemon Snap. If you don't get the right shot, there's not going to be no next time. Especially with Pokemon like Articuno, Zapdos, I believe the other the Dragon Pokemon like Dragonite. Those are hard to really take pictures of good pictures. You can take pictures of them when you get them, but if you want that decent, very immersive photo, it's hard to get that at the right moment. If you took photography class or photography club in your high school, it should give you some leeway on how to do decent photo shoots. So.
Okay, so if you're a fan of Pokemon Snap, if you're a fan of the original Pokemon Snap, and you have the Nintendo Switch Online original Pokemon Snap on Nintendo Switch.
Indeed.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay, because I really want to get to this next story.
Right.
You're probably gonna laugh if you. Tekken 2 was briefly listed for $9,999 on the US PS Store. What a marvelous price, says creator Katsuhiro Harada. Sony accidentally listed Tekken 2 for $9,999 on the PlayStation Store as it switched over its new PlayStation Plus. Of Tekken got in on the joke. What a marvelous price, Sony, Katsuhiro Harada tweeted, not just once, but twice, putting a little extra emphasis on his second post. The mistake was made on June 13th, the same day as Sony's revamped PlayStation Plus was released in North America, and classic games like Tekken 2 were added to the store. Somewhat PlayStation Plus Premium tier and cannot be bought as a standalone game on PS4 and PS5. Considering the new service includes more than 700 games, it's understandable that a couple of errors may have slipped through, even if this was a particularly startling one. We also saw Mr. Driller listed for $9,999. Tekken 2 was first released in 1995 and is therefore part of the classic games catalog that comes with the most expensive premium tier at $120 a year. Users paying this amount will also gain access to a plethora of PS4 and PS5 games and limited time trials for recent releases such as Horizon Forbidden West. The extra tier at $100 a year includes just the PS4 and PS5 titles on top of the usual PlayStation Plus benefits, and its essential tier at $60 a year is practically the same as the old service. The new tiers are available in most regions, but Europe, Australia, and New Zealand are the last to receive them, scheduled for June 23rd. The reason I want to bring up this story, it's just a funny error.
Yeah.
$9,000. God damn. For Tekken 2? Tekken 2, I just said Tekken, maybe Tekken 5. You know, if you're a rich motherfucker, you'd be like, yeah, I'll buy that fucker.
Yeah, but what about the creator of Tekken even getting in on the joke?
That's funny as hell. Dude, I've been a Tekken fan since Tekken 2. Like, I heard Tekken. I played my first Tekken game was when I was 7 years old at some supermarket. I was playing Tekken 2, and that's the most memorable first ever experience I had of any Tekken game I played. And that was back in 1984, 96, something like that. So I've been at it the Tekken games for years. I own Tekken 5, Tekken 6. Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and I also have Tekken 7. So I have Tekken 3 on the PS1 still. I still have the case covering of it too of Tekken 3. So unfortunately, it broke off with the disc case. I don't know how that happened. I don't remember everything about the matter, but I played lots and lots of hours of Tekken 3, Tekken 5, and Tekken 7 the most. So.
Yeah, it's just funny. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of the Tekken 1 or 2. Tekken 3 I like. Tekken 4 I like. Tekken 5, 6 I did not like.
What?
And I do have digital copies. I have Tekken Hybrid, which is basically Tekken Tag Tournament HD on the PlayStation 3.
Right.
I have Tekken Tag Tournament 2 on Xbox One. So those are how I feel about the individual Tekkens. I just thought this was a funny story. Ready to move on?
I would like to say this though is that, well, the question to you, my friend Triple J, has anyone thought about buying that at $9,000?
I doubt it.
Like if there's somewhere a rich person out there who's a gamer like us, like for example like Kim.com, Elon Musk, like. I think Elon Musk will definitely buy it for $10,000. What do you think? Tekken 2.
I would not, but I mean, you can find loose copies of Tekken 2 for like $5. I mean,
the disc only though, not the full game coverage, game case and stuff. So.
Well, I mean, the digital game, you're just getting the game, so it's not like you care about getting the manual and the case.
Yeah, you're right. It's not the first copy either, so you're right.
Right.
Speaking of first copies, if I may add too, did you hear that on eBay? Some guy selling Super Mario Brothers Japanese version
for the first copy for about $600,000, at least 500,000.
No, I did not hear that.
Yeah, my other friend, my gaming confidant, I call him. His name is Enjoy Gaming. At one point, I keep mentioning him throughout our podcast now, and he told me on eBay selling that for about $600,000 plus 1 cent shipping and handling. Kind of funny for the Super Mario Brothers game, the original Super Mario Brothers, first copy.
All right. We still got a couple more stories to move on to cover. I want to cover them since we're this far in.
Yeah, sure.
Is it okay to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. Next, let me get to the top. Fallout 5 is Bethesda's next game after Elder Scrolls 6. Will probably be out by 2050. In an interview published today, Bethesda's creative director Todd Howard revealed the studio's future plans, explaining that after The Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, the studio's next game would be Fallout 5, the next main entry in the company's post-apocalyptic open-world RPG franchise. However, considering how long it takes Bethesda to make these big games, don't expect either RPG to launch anytime in the near future. During an interview with IGN, Howard laid out very clearly and openly what Bethesda Game Studios was going to be working on for the next few years. Specifically, the plan currently is to wrap up Starfield and begin working more on the next entry in the Elder Scrolls series, Elder Scrolls 6, which Howard explained is currently in pre-production. Then after that, the studio will focus on Fallout 5. Yes, Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production, explained Howard, and we're going to be doing Fallout 5 after that, so our slate's pretty full going forward for a while. Interestingly, Howard also said that Bethesda Game Studios has some other projects that the team looks at from time to time as well, but didn't elaborate on what those games are, how far along they might be, or where they could fall in the production timeline. To be clear, this isn't the first time Howard has talked about Fallout 5. In fact, this isn't even the first time he has talked to IGN about the next game in the popular RPG series. Last year, during a different interview with the outlet, Howard explained that the studio had a rough idea of what Fallout 5 would be, but didn't elaborate more or share any details about the game. Fallout's really part of our DNA here, Howard told IGN in 2021. We worked with other developers from time to time. I can't say what's going to happen. We have a one-pager on Fallout 5, what we want to do. However, back during that interview, Howard was less clear on the timeline. Now we know that Fallout 5 will indeed be released after Elder Scrolls 6, and that likely means Fallout 5 will be out around, let's say 2035, if you're lucky. Elder Scrolls 6 was first officially revealed during E3 2018 with a short teaser, and since then we've heard basically nothing else about the game. The last mainline Fallout game, Fallout 4, was released back in 2015. Howard told IGN today that he wished they could make these games faster, and that, like many of the studio's biggest fans, he was frustrated about having to wait so many years between each game. But he explained it's part of the process as necessary. They do take a while. I wish they came out faster. I really do, admitted Howard. We're trying as hard as we can, but we want them to be as best as they can be for everybody. And I'm saying, Howard, take your time. I know you'd probably like to just put a magic wand down and the game is created, but you know what? A game that takes a long time to create is better than a broken game that takes no time.
Definitely.
Do you agree?
Indeed. Take your time with the game. Games, for any games before the 2000s and all, they were created out of not only passion but also time consuming too. Well, there were crunch times, of course, with Crash Bandicoot. It was made, Crash Bandicoot 2 was made within about 9 months, not even a year. So anything's possible, right? But that was back then when the technology was different. It was simple, it was basic, but interactive at the same time. But now you talk about these big budget games like Monster Hunter and Call of Duty of today's world and shit. It's a totally different atmosphere now. It's a totally different interface of gaming, and they have the technology to make these games, but it takes time to make them. So more power to them, but don't make it the year 2050 to release Elder Scrolls 6. It's crazy.
Yeah, those remarks about the possible release years was funny, but in all seriousness, we want good games even if they take long.
Yeah. Games like what's it called? What's that game that came out that took a while to make? GTA 5. It took 5 years to make since GTA 4 back in 2009, 2008. So, more power to my Rockstar Games at the time to take their time with the game. And it was the best game for the 360 and PS3 era too, technically speaking, because the graphics of that game was so advanced that was still compatible for the 360, especially for the 360. So that was good passion at the time. But now you're lucky if they have that passion to make an exclusively long game, a very vast map of all terrain and content and side quests and whatever open world you want to think of when it comes to games like GTA. But other than that, everything's fine. It's just, keep more power to them, right? I have to say so.
Yeah, and then Rockstar created Red Dead Redemption 2. That was like, what, 4 years after Grand Theft Auto 5?
Yeah, definitely, because Red Dead Redemption 2 was, 2018? And the first Red Dead Redemption came out back what?
Yeah, 2018, because I was living down here in Georgia when it was released.
Oh, yeah.
So it was maybe 5 years after Grand Theft Auto 5.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, so Howard, take your time. Any game direct, anybody in making video games, take your time. We want the games to be fixed and ready to play when they're released, whenever they are, even if it means we have to wait longer for it.
Indeed.
That's the most important thing. Ready to cover the last story?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Lollipop Chainsaw is apparently returning.
Ooh.
Whether it's a remaster, remake, or sequel is unknown.
Ah.
Lollipop Chainsaw is coming back, and this time it's going to be handled by Dragami Games. CEO Yoshimi Yasuda announced this on Twitter. Yoshida simply says Lollipop Chainsaw is backed by Dragami Games. Please look forward to it. What he means by this is unclear. It could potentially be a remaster on newer consoles, or it could be a sequel to the first game. According to VGC, Yoshida was previously the CEO of Kadokawa Games, where he worked for 14 years. Kadokawa Games also published Lollipop Chainsaw, which was developed by Grasshopper Manufacture. Last month, Yoshida left Kadokawa and started Dragami Games. Earlier this week, Lollipop Chainsaw co-writer James Gunn celebrated the game's 10th anniversary, but also mentioned that he has not been privy to conversation regarding any sort of remastering for the game. Lollipop Chainsaw was released back in June 2012 for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. If the game is indeed coming back, hopefully you'll see a PC release too. The game follows a young girl named Juliet Sterling as she fights off a zombie infestation while on her way to meet her boyfriend Nick. In our Lollipop Chainsaw review, we said Lollipop Chainsaw is cheery and obscene, but it doesn't hit its mark consistently enough to be more than a passing amusement. I played Lollipop Chainsaw. I played the first few levels. The only thing I didn't like is, while level 1 you could finish like in a half hour, level 2 took like 45 minutes, and you couldn't save like halfway through the level, so it's a really long level to get through.
You serious? You're telling me Lollipop Chainsaw levels are that long? Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I understand, like, Devil May Cry 5, games like Devil May Cry 4 with the hack and slash, because Lollipop Chainsaw is a hack and slash game, obviously. So, in comparison to Devil May Cry 5, if you're taking your sweet time with Virgil as Dante, in mission, 19? So, might be 30 minutes if you're lucky to finish it in a take your time moment. But because Lollipop Chainsaw is that long, wow, I was expecting maybe like 20 minutes, maybe at least 10. That's about it. And there's no save points. Is there checkpoints at least?
Not in the actual levels. You had to finish a level before you could save.
Wow, so you had to play 45 minutes straight with no saves. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's why I never got back to it. I did finish the second level. The third level was, I think, a mini-boss, or first boss in the game, where a guy who's possessed is, he screams effing and then synonym for female dog. You can use your imagination. But, like, the words he screams actually comes out, and, like, you have to avoid the words, and that's as far as I got in the game. It was I think it was made by the same people who made Shadows of the Damned for Xbox 360, but this was more of a cutesy game. Even though it involves zombies and cutting the heads off and everything, it was done in a more like cutesy way than something like Shadows of the Damned.
Yeah, Lollipop Chainsaw is like a free flow, like a happy-go-lucky moment as a teenage girl kicking ass.
Yeah, but I mean, she carried the head of her boyfriend. With her, no, because her boyfriend saved her from getting bitten by a zombie,
right.
But he got bit. So she did what she could, and basically the only way she could stop the infection was by separating his head from his body, and she carried his head around throughout the game.
Now, obviously they're gonna have a second Lollipop Chainsaw. I'm assuming
they're either gonna have a second one or they're gonna remake it for later consoles.
I hope they have a sequel after the remake. Because
I hope to have a remake. I mean, whether or not a sequel happens later depends. I wish I never got back to Lollipop Chainsaw. I wish I did, but if they're making a remake, I would love to try it out. I would love to play it again. But if it's a remake, you gotta make these levels shorter, not 30, 45 minutes long per level.
Well, and they're trying to make sure that the hardcore gamers are playing the game, because if you let like the lowest common denominator play these games, they're gonna complain to the game makers, and the game makers are gonna make mistakes, and the hardcore players that bought the game at full price and own the game, they're gonna be pissed off and not gonna buy it anymore. But 45-minute gameplay is pretty good run for my money, because as long as you don't fuck up too much, you should be able to beat the level with not too many problems. Devil May Cry is like that. Depends on which Devil May Cry game you're talking about, for what mission, and how much time you incorporate the matter. Because if you don't have a strategy guide for Devil May Cry 4, it could be like a little bit of a problem for you. It depends on how well you're in tune with the Devil May Cry franchise. And Bayonetta is another story of its own, because there's this boss level, right? And I'm stuck on this boss too in my last sample gameplay of Bayonetta 1. And in Bayonetta 1, I had to reverse time every so often in order to defeat this boss. And it's over and over and over. And I've been at it for like 15 minutes per try. The rewind of time that you have to use. So, it's all about strategy. It's all about finding your niche and how to defeat your enemy. That's all. That's the funness of games. It's endurance. It's the wit. It's the cognitive abilities at your whim. So.
Yeah. So anyway, this was the longest episode we've ever done.
Indeed. Yeah.
Almost
definitely.
4 hours. That's all the gaming news we have. I hope you enjoyed this. I do plan to be streaming something tomorrow night. I'm not sure what. Might be We Happy Few, might be a different Xbox One game. Dr. Games 101, anything you want to say before we sign off for tonight?
I just want to say to you guys that I appreciate for those who stop by listening to my side of the podcast, because I'm on my phone instead of my computer. My computer is not working well with the Discord, so I have to report the matter to the Discord support team. And hopefully by the next podcast, everything will be back to normal with our video feed, with our video chats, because I can't see my friend in a constant frame, only like various pictures. So we'll figure it out eventually, guys. But I appreciate your time to stop by and still listen.
All right, so like I said, I got my Xbox One headset. I'm planning to stream tomorrow. As always, Wednesday will be a new game in Total Extreme Wrestling 2020. I'll be starting a new I'll be playing a different company after what happened to my AEW game. Thursday, me and Dr. Games 101 will be playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. If you want to make sure you catch those streams, follow me if you're on my Twitch channel. Also, if you're on my Twitch channel, visit the About section. There's a link to my BitChute channel where I do Let's Plays. There's also a link to my price charting store where I sell old and new video games. So check to see if I have something you're interested in. Next podcast will be, let me just check the date, will be on the 2nd of July.
Yep, July 2nd. You're right.
At podcast start at 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you there, and I hope to see you on my next stream tomorrow on Sunday night, whatever that might be. So, until then, good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.